At Ehime Prefecture Junior High School Tournament, two teams play football with each other and the ball goes to one's teammate named Aoi again. Even the people in the audience notice that Aoi keeps getting the ball while Aoi's opponents whine about his skills and how they need to take care of him. Aoi rushes towards the goal and shoots a hat-trick goal. Their team now needs only one more goal to tie the score, and although most of Aoi's goals are done without relying on formations or coordination, the team depends on him to win the match. The other team's goalie approaches Aoi and reminds him how they used to be in the same club in grade school. He reminds him that he always used to hog the ball for himself, due to which he was kicked out of the club, and Aoi reminds him that he is playing for his current team now, who accepts him. The good-for-nothing yapper goalie trash talks about his team, that they seem to be a bunch of losers who are only willing to pass the ball to him without doing anything themselves, and that they seem like monkeys who have been well trained. The people in the audience enjoy the match since it is a huge entertainment for a small town like theirs, and just then, Aoi headbutts the goalie. Afterwards, his mom scolds him for acting so pathetically because she especially came to watch the match since it was his last junior high tournament, and his coach tells him how a well-known high school coach had come to watch the match too. He reveals that the coach declined to induct Aoi in his team because of his anger issues and his emotional immaturity. Moreover, his team loses the match by 2 goals, due to which they get kicked out of the tournament. Manager Fukuda lounges at a roadside and tells his family member Hana that he is visiting Ehime to visit a grave, but now that he is here, he will do some work as well. Just then, Aoi runs up to him like a turtle, and Fukuda tells him that he has been waiting for him to stop running, but he keeps going persistent even though his stamina should have been low after playing such a hectic match. Aoi asks him who he is, but he loses unconsciousness. In the past, Aoi tells his junior high team that he is the new Ronaldo, so they should all pass the ball to him and shouldn't tie him up with any tactics or whatever. His team finds him hilarious and accepts his confident behavior, even though he used to get kicked out of his teams previously due to his attitude. Aoi wakes up and finds Fukuda kicking the ball effortlessly. Fukuda does a trick with the ball which intrigues Aoi, so he asks him about it, and Fukuda throws the ball to Aoi. He gives him advice on how to control the ball when he receives it and how to kick it quickly after that, which would make him score 3 times more than he normally does. He then makes circles on the sand to help him perform the trick, and soon time passes by. Aoi's family becomes worried because he hasn't reached home, and even his teammates look for him. At the beach, Aoi fails to land the trick despite trying again and again, and Fukuda thinks that he doesn't have the skills. He asks him about the tactics that he used to score goals at the match, but Aoi doesn't discuss them because he doesn't believe in any tactics. Aoi keeps up his practice while Fukuda calls him a brute soccer player, and he thinks about how the ball kept coming to Aoi in the match despite the lack of strategy. He comments to Aoi that his teammates trust him completely, due to which he was the only one who could score goals. Back at his house, the opposite team's goalie comes to apologize to his family, and he reveals that Aoi didn't take the bait when he trash-talked his teammates, but when he started talking about his poor family and his mom who had to work the night shifts too. Aoi got mad and head-butted him. At the beach, Aoi discusses his last goal with Fukuda, where he tells him that his teammates were spread out in the field because they were tired, so he put himself at a spot deliberately where he could score goals, but he could also counterattack if he wanted to. Fukuda becomes shocked to hear this, and Aoi comments that the goals weren't a coincidence, but rather they happened because of team effort, and he compliments his team for the 1000th time who accepted his wild antics. Fukuda tells him to go home, and he goes to sleep at a bench himself, where he thinks about how crazy Aoi is since he could remember the positions of all 22 players in the field, due to which he could position himself perfectly to score goals. Fukuda wakes up in the morning only to see Aoi, who has been practicing all night to master the trick. Aoi tells him that he is unstoppable now, but he falls down due to low energy. Fukuda introduces himself as the manager of Tokyo City Esperion FC Youth, and he tells him that he plans to have a youth club which will dominate the world stage by competing internationally. He then invites him for the tryouts, which are happening in 10 days' time, and advises him to consult his family first. Later, Aoi visits his junior school again, where he practices soccer as always, and some girls who were rooting for him also catch up with him. His team members also find him there, so they all practice together with the new team, where he shows up his skills as always. He recalls his conversion with his family about the tryouts, in which his mom scolded him for even thinking about it since she couldn't afford to send him to Tokyo. In the present, he discusses with his teammates about joining high school with them, and soon his brother Shun comes to pick him up. On the way home, Shun discusses Fukuda, who used to be an ex-midfielder for the Japanese national team and who joined the youth club but soon got to join the La Liga club in Spain, which is the best league in Japan. He tells him about how he got injured at the end of his first season and how he could never make a big comeback after that, due to which he retired. Shun tells him to go for the tryouts, and after giving him some money that he had saved up, he tells him that they will deal with the money situation after the tryouts, so he should go to Tokyo for now. Aoi reaches Tokyo and he becomes amazed to see the huge facility and grounds of the Tokyo Esperion Club. He collides with a girl called Hana outside the grounds, who immediately recognizes him somehow and tells him that her brother has been yapping non-stop about him. She even calls him annoying at one point and later takes him to a field where others like him are warming up. She reveals that 86 people are participating for the tryouts and shows him some potential candidates who may make the team, such as captain of the Kento tournament and some others. She comments that he doesn't seem to have achieved much in Eheim, but he only becomes delighted to see that he is going to be playing on a real grass field soon. Later, the head coach Nozomi tells all participants about the top-notch record of their club and the youth team and how they have won tournaments before. Manager Fukuda also welcomes the team and smiles when he sees Aoi in the crowd. He tells all of them to grow as players if they manage to join the team, and that even if they fail, they should use the experience to improve themselves. Fukuda tells them at the end that it is very rare for any player to get picked for the team from these tryouts, and Aoi calls him unfair for such a treatment. Even though Fukuda looks angry to hear his complaint, he admits his mistake and he explains to everyone the mechanism through which members are selected for the team. He explains that the members can be selected through tryouts, through scouting, or they can be promoted through the junior youth team, which had been trained by them already. He goes on to say that even half of junior team members get rejected for the team, and how talent scouts are always roaming in different cities to recruit talented players across the country. But because they all weren't scouted officially, they can still have a chance through the tryouts, even if the chance is very slim. He motivates them by adding that the team needs such players who can crawl up from the bottom and have the drive to achieve more and more. He wishes all the players best of luck, and up next the first round of the test begins, which includes a fitness test. The players begin sprinting while one of the players called Utomo points out to Aoi that he is trembling. Aoi congratulates him for striking up a conversation with him, and Utomo blames him for yapping his mouth off, due to which Fukuda made the speech to everyone, which fired everyone up even though they were all nervous before. Aoi tells him that he wants to compete with all the players at their best. For the tryouts, everyone gets asked to participate in mini-games 7 versus 7 players of 20 minutes, and for the teams, all the best eligible players get grouped in one team, while Aoi and Utomo get grouped in the second team. Fukuda's sister Aoi also comes to the sidelines to bring some refreshments, and she notices that the game is going very one-sided with Aoi's team losing. On the field, Aoi gets the ball, but the other team easily steals from him and scores the goal. Utomo scolds him for trying to play the game all by himself and for letting the other team steal the ball again and again. Aoi accuses his team for not passing the ball to him, due to which he has to try to steal the ball himself, and Utomo admits that their teamwork is pretty weak. One of the ace players from the other team, called Takabana, easily gets the ball, and some think that the tryouts are even happening to assess whether he should be inducted in the team or not. Aoi's team gets the ball, but Takabana easily steals the ball, and Hana asks Fukuda whether it's really fair for the two teams to have such a wide skills gap. He explains that every player wants to show off so that he can get selected, but they need a player who can think intelligently within a team to assess what the team needs the most to win. The coaches notice that Aoi has stopped moving, while Aoi thinks about how he is unable to play properly and how he wants to play good soccer with all the other skilled players. He goes into God mode as he notices the position of all the players, and suddenly he asks Utomo to pass the ball to him. Once he gets the ball, he moves from forward position to defense as he takes the ball to a corner. The other players try to steal the ball from him, but he stubbornly keeps it to himself and doesn't let them steal it. Even though the match has 5 minutes left, he keeps this tactic up even when his own team members keep complaining, and Hana notices that Fukuda is trembling with excitement. Aoi begs the other team members to move towards him, and slowly some more members from the opponent team move in his direction to stop him. He gets the opening that he needed, so he makes a run for it, while Utomo realizes what Aoi is planning to do, so he calls out to another player, Kanda, and tells him to run towards the other goal. Aoi runs towards his own goal and makes a very long pass to Utomo, who passes the ball to Kanda, who headbutts the ball and scores a goal. Utomo bursts with happiness, while Aoi announces to the whole field that he made the goal possible, even if it was because of sheer luck. Even Kanda acknowledges his effort, while another coach notices the exact tactic that Aoi managed to effortlessly pull off. The match finishes, and Fukuda calls all the members to announce that they are now going to soon decide names of the 7 members who are going to move on for the final stage of the assessment. Aoi and the other players eat food in the cafeteria where Aoi eats food as if there's no tomorrow while Utomo struggles to even eat anything due to nervousness. The coaches and managers discuss the selected players, and after choosing the first 5 players, Fukuda asks Coach Tsukishima about his opinion. Tsukishima calls out Utomo's name and he explains that Utomo's behavior rather than his technique stood out the most because he was constantly chatting with the other players to gauge their playing styles and personalities. Utomo eventually gets selected while the coaches discuss whether to select Aoi or not. Aoi goes to pick up seconds for his food and Hana scolds him for eating more since he may have to participate again if he gets chosen. She asks him whether he made the goal possible due to sheer luck and he says that it was due to intuition. She reveals that her favorite player could also play without thinking a lot, and afterwards she thinks about how Fukuda scored a similar goal during one of his tournaments. Fukuda announces the name of the players who are moving on to the final stage, and after calling out Kanda and Utomo's names, he calls out Aoi's name at the end. Afterwards, Aoi calls his brother Shun and tells him about the good news. The final stage starts in 30 minutes, so before that Aoi tries to strike up conversation with the other players, and he proposes that they should get to know each other since there may be an 11 versus 11 match soon, but everyone just ignores him. Utomo starts getting nervous and Takabana tells Aoi that he wants to talk with him since he finds him interesting. Some other players including Kanda agree too, so they all sit down to chit-chat with each other. On Utomo's suggestion, they all tell each other what kind of passes they want, and Aoi tells them that they are all very picky. One of the other players tells them that he feels like it's his last chance to become a pro player, and Utomo shares that he feels the same since he knows if he joins his high school team, he will simply retire after 3 years. Takabana shares that he feels the same since he hasn't grown as a player in years and because he has become complacent in his own club. He makes a dramatic statement that his pro life may be over if he doesn't make it, and Aoi shares that he has never even thought about going pro. He tells the others that he is glad to play against such amazing players, so they should stop berating themselves. Soon Fukuda announces that they are all going to play against the official Tokyo Esperion youth team, and he introduces them as well. One of the tryout players whines that they cannot possibly play against such a pro team who have superior play and techniques, and Fukuda tells them to win against them since their ultimate aim should be to exceed the skills of the Esperion youth team. Takabana recalls when he watched the team play last year at a tournament, and how their skills were above the normal high school level. Meanwhile, Utomo notices that Aoi is beyond excited to play the team, and Fukuda tells the team that he has some specific information to share with them during the match. The team warms up before the match, and Aoi tells the team that they should win, while Takabana shares that almost all players are first-year players who are only 1 year above them, so they can win against them. Before the match, another official youth player, Akatsu, requests Fukuda to join the team to make the newcomers realize their limits. Meanwhile, the team discusses their formation, and Aoi and Kanda get put in the front as the team forwards. The match begins, and the newcomers immediately break through the defense of the other team as they attempt to score a goal, but the goalie stops the goal. Once again, due to the weak defense of the youth team, the newcomers try to score a goal, and even Aoi tries scoring a goal, but each time their goalie stops all the goals. The audience wonders why the youth team is showing such sus behavior, and just then Aoi notices that Akatsu and the others are planning something. Akatsu makes a gesture to his team which they reciprocate back, and the match resumes as Aoi thinks to take on a defender to score a goal. Before he can receive the ball, Akatsu steals the ball from him and swiftly passes it to another team member. The team members pass the ball between themselves with minimum movement till one of them scores a goal. Up next, the youth team uses the same technique, and with their one-touch passes, they pass the ball between themselves, while Fukuda tells Hana that the team needs to have exceptional position and coordination to pull it off. Aoi runs through the team and manages to knock the ball away from the other team, but Fukuda just steals it back instantly and scores a goal. He calls Aoi trash and tells him to go back home. The newcomers try to come up with a strategy for the second half, and when half the players don't join the meeting, Utomo convinces them that he doesn't want to end the game like this. They get persuaded by him to join, while Hana treats Aoi's nosebleed. She tells him that Akatsu is the only first year who is a starter in the official team, and that he was also the only one who got through the last year's tryouts. Aoi wonders why Akatsu is being such a pain in the butt when he was in the same position as him. The match resumes, and this time the youth team doesn't pull off any crazy moves like the one-touch passes. Instead, they keep their play simple by effortlessly stealing the ball and rushing to the goal. They try to score again, but the goalie blocks their shot, and Akatsu once again starts trash talking to Aoi about his team. Aoashi tries to motivate his team and he tells them to pass the ball to him so that he can score some goals. Utomo tries to motivate them too and they once again aim to score more goals. The match resumes and this time Aoashi and Fukuda both jump in the air to retrieve the ball. Fukuda leans into Aoashi and pushes him hard when they both land on the ground. As a result, Aoashi gets pretty wounded up. Hana advises him to leave the match, but he reminds his team to let him score at least once because he cannot go back to Eheim like this. Fukuda then announces to the team that for this match, all the youth team members are playing different positions than their original ones except for the goalie. All the players have a mental breakdown after hearing Fukuda's announcement, and one of the players named Nakano even falls down on his knees, making the scene even more dramatic. He thinks about how the youth team has been destroying them even though they're playing in unfamiliar positions while being only a year older than them. At that moment, Aoashi wonders how his brother, Shun, saved up the money that he gave him. The youth team scores again as soon as the play resumes, and Aoashi has a hard time even standing straight because of the injury he got from Akatsu. He recalls the time he got the cleats as a gift from his mom and how she bought them for him even though they were very expensive, so he promised to pay her back by becoming a pro footballer. He starts losing hope, and the spectators also notice that all the candidates have lost their fighting spirit after finding out how their opponents are playing out of position. Takabana tries to go forward with the ball, but Kanda, who has already given up, doesn't support him and only walks around like a zombie. The ball gets stolen from Takabana and Nakano tries to defend, but he easily gets dribbled past while he wonders how the youth players are easily bringing their vision in their plays. Fukuda sees how Nakano and Kanda have fully given up, so he cuts their names from his clipboard. Aoashi thinks about how he has already given his best for the day, but he sees Fukuda looking at him with judgmental eyes, and he imagines how it will be if he goes back home after giving up. He thinks about how sad his family will be after learning that he just gave up even though they supported him so much, and he suddenly gains the motivation to try even harder. He starts running again and quickly stops Akatsu from scoring a header. Meanwhile, Aoishi's mother looks up the pay of an average J2 player, and Shun tells her how the Tokyo Esperion club is exactly what a soccer club should be like. He says that it's unlikely that Aoashi would get signed, so she shouldn't worry too much, but she says that she doesn't like that outcome either. Back at the field, Aoashi clears the ball again and all the spectators are impressed by his dedication, so they start clapping for him. He gets the ball and Takabana runs alongside him while thinking about how he won't give up either. They get a free kick thanks to a handball, and Utomo steps up to ask if he can take the free kick. They agree to it, and Aoashi asks him how he becomes relaxed the moment they start playing, and he replies that it's because he likes soccer. Aoashi recalls how Hana told him not to stop thinking, so he thinks about what his final play will look like because only 3 minutes are left in the game. Utomo takes the free kick towards the top corner, but Akatsu defends it using a header, and the ball quickly reaches the middle of the field, but Aoashi is already present there. The other player named Asari accidentally messes up after seeing Aoashi running towards him, and Akatsu is shocked at how quickly Aoashi was able to predict where the ball will go. Nakano gets the ball and passes it to Aoashi, who is already running towards the opposite side. He looks at the whole field and goes to the left side so the opponents come towards him. He passes the ball to Takabana, who is at the right wing, and he passes it to Utomo, who is open in the middle. He shoots it, but Akatsu defends and the ball goes into the air. Aoashi is already under the ball and directly shoots the ball into the goal. The three celebrate their first and only goal, and Fukuda is impressed by Aoishi's off-the-ball play. After a while, Aoashi goes into the final interview where he asks Fukuda why he made the players play out of position. He replies that it was part of their training and he wanted to see how his players would adapt. The head coach, Nozomi, asks him what he was thinking during the final play, and he answers that he saw Utomo running towards the middle from the corner of his eye. He says that he felt like Utomo knew what he had in mind and went to the middle just in case Utomo missed. He says that he was also thinking about his brother and mother and wanted to repay them for everything. Aoashi returns to Eheim, and after a while, he's in his mother's bar with his friends and they discuss how it's almost time for the reply from Esperion to come. His mother goes home for the day and he thinks about how she hasn't said a word about him leaving for Tokyo without telling her. Shun points out how Aoashi is acting carefree about the result, but he is actually very worried about whether he will get signed or not. He says that he is prepared for the worst, and even if he does get signed, he still can't move to Tokyo by himself. They're all having fun when they notice that he has something in his pocket, so he takes it while recalling how Hana gave it to him before he left Tokyo. He shows that it's a diet plan and they tell him to ask her for the results of the tryouts because she might know. He goes out to call her and his mother gives him mail from Esperion as soon as Hana picks up the call. He sees what is inside of it, and it says that he was accepted, so they all start celebrating, but his mother says that she feels like soccer is taking him away from her, which ruins the whole mood. She recalls the moment she found that mail and Hana overheard the whole situation from the other side of the phone. At night, Hana asks him why his mom said that and if he talked to her about it, so he reveals that she went to work after that, so he couldn't talk to her yet. Hana scolds him for not talking to her properly and for coming to the trials without her consent. Shun asks him to ask Hana about the diet plan she gave him, so she explains that it was a balanced diet because he needs a great physique if he wants to play soccer. She says that it's the best meal plan for him, and Aoi asks her why she is doing so much for him, but she doesn't answer properly. She tells him to talk things out with his mother as it's important, while Aoi's mother gets frustrated over what she said to him before. Shun says that he was also surprised to see her saying that because he has never seen her showing her weak side before. Aoi thinks about how he can never leave for Tokyo while his mom feels like that, and his mom opens the door. She overhears him telling Hana how he wants to make his mom's life easier by going pro and making lots of money. He says that he isn't that smart, so he probably won't be able to make lots of money any other way. That's why he wants to go pro no matter what happens, but won't go to Tokyo as it will make things harder for her. His mom bursts in through the door and yells who they're on the phone with so late into the night. They try to explain that it's someone from Esperion, but she starts lecturing them that the lights are on, which they'll pay for. Aoi rushes to cut the call, but she takes the phone from him and asks how much sending him to Tokyo will cost. Hana gets nervous and his mom questions that she sounds too young to be from the club, but Hana says that she really is from the club. She hurriedly starts telling his mom how much everything will cost, and this happens over a few days as people from the club also guide her about Aoi's joining. He thinks about how he didn't get to tell his mom about how he really feels throughout all that, so he tries to talk to her, but she doesn't listen to him and continues to pack his clothes. She says that she won't be able to see him off as she will be at work, so he loses the final chance to talk to her. He goes to school where the teacher tells all the students about how Aoi is going to Tokyo, and they all applaud him. Shun goes with Aoi to see him off and asks him to thank Hana on his behalf for helping them so much through everything. Aoi complains about how he couldn't even have a proper talk with his mom because she changed the subject every time he tried to have a serious conversation. He says that he will go pro no matter what happens and will leave Aheim with a smile. He reaches the train station where he finds all of his friends from the soccer team waiting to see him off, which surprises him. They tell him how the teacher let them go early so they could see him off, and he tries hard not to stop smiling. They all take pictures together and tell him how they want to play soccer with him again one day. He tries his best not to stop smiling and tries to cheer them up while they cry. Shun hands him another bag and says that it's from their mom, which he should open on the train. He leaves on the train and sees that it's an envelope and a box inside the bag. He recalls how his mom is not the type to be indecisive, so she must have written something she couldn't say face to face or probably disowned him. He hopes that she didn't write anything about being sad or something because it will be very hard for him to leave that way. He tears the envelope and finds a card and a bank book along with a letter. He reads the letter in which his mom apologizes for not coming to see him off and for not letting him have a serious conversation with her. She says that she will pay his club and tuition fees, but she doesn't know how much the other things will cost, so that's why she gave him the bank book. She tells him that she overheard how he really feels when he was talking to Hana on the phone that night, and also apologizes for not getting him new cleats earlier. He quickly opens the box and finds that she got him brand new cleats. He continues to read and she says that she will support him in whatever he wants to do in life and doesn't care if he goes pro or not. She roasts him for being short-tempered, but says that it shows how he is sincere in everything he does. She says that a lot of people support him on his journey to Tokyo, and he will find a lot more in Tokyo who will continue to support him. He ends up crying his eyes out while reading how she's proud of him no matter what happens, and sometime later, he finally calms down so he sits like the top G. He finally reaches Tokyo and goes straight to the Esperion club with a huge smile on his face. He reads on the acceptance letter that they're supposed to gather at 6 in front of the clubhouse, so he goes to the fields to look around as he has time. He wonders if Utomo and Takabana also passed the tryouts, and two girls run past him suddenly while screaming, which scares him. He follows them, only to realize that they came to see the main team's practice, and he is awestruck to see the players he only saw on TV in front of him. The girls realize that he is the guy from the tryouts, and they notice his luggage, so they ask him if he passed the tryouts. They congratulate him and talk about how he gave it his all during the tryouts. They talk about how he will soon get used to watching the famous players as their fields are next to each other, and they might even give him advice if he's lucky. He notices Utomo grinning while watching the players next to him, and Takabana also arrives, so they all congratulate each other for passing the trials. Utomo reveals that he and Takabana already knew that they got signed because they had each other's numbers. One of the girls asks them to give her their first autograph, and Takabana starts signing while saying a cringe dialogue about how they're comrades in arms. Aoi signs next, but he notices the autograph on the previous page, and the girls tell him how that autograph will be very valuable in the future. Utomo shows him that it's an autograph of Kirabayashi. The girls tell him that he is a first-year student, but he already practices with the first team that plays in the J-League. The girls reveal how all the fans see him as a very special player who will forge the future of not only Esperion but also Japan's national team. They go to the clubhouse after that, where they meet Asari and another player named Yuma. They greet each other, and Aoi introduces himself as a once-in-a-millennium genius, but Utomo tells him not to talk like that to their seniors. Yuma reveals that he and Asari are from the junior youth team and were only the tryouts to fill the team. Asari introduces himself, and Utomo assumes that he's both handsome and good at soccer, so he must not be a good guy. Takabana greets them with a cringe line which makes everyone get second-hand embarrassment. Another guy complains about how the last person to join the youth team is yet to arrive, and reveals that everyone else but they have already moved in after getting their kits. He says that they signed one player after scouting him but can't reach him, and decides to give the three their kits and gear so they can move in. Aoi is shocked that they'll be getting free kits, and he tells them to put it outside their rooms in the morning when they want it to get washed. He also reveals that they'll get new kits if the old ones get worn out or become small. He hands Aoi his roommate's kit too, as he has yet to arrive, and reveals to them that their dorm was designed for J-League players and used to house the first team before, so it has everything including a cafeteria, meeting room, and a training room. Aoi goes to his room and lies down on the floor, happy about how he can fully focus on soccer with everything he has now. The next day, Aoi announces his name and number in front of a camera, and he tells Utomo that nobody told him that they'll have a photo shoot in the morning. Utomo tells him that it's for the official player directory, and he has been getting ready for it since 6 in the morning. He shows him last year's official player directory that all J-League clubs publish for their fans. He asks Aoi what his roommate is like, as he was the only person who got scouted this year, but Aoi reveals that he hasn't arrived yet. He says that his name is Tagashi, and Takabana introduces them to his roommate, whose name is Kuroda, who got promoted from the junior youth team. Kuroda tells them that he is surprised that 3 people were selected from the tryouts, which is more than usual, while only 9 got promoted from the junior team. Aoi introduces himself and says that it's not cool how all the players from the junior team are just hanging out together. Kuroda reveals that they're all just bad at socializing except Yuma, and they're all just very nervous right now because one of their dreams comes true. They hold an arrival ceremony with some parents, and one of the youth team coaches named Tsukishima starts it off by introducing himself. Aoi thinks about what Kuroda said about their dream coming true, and thinks about how the junior youth players must go through a rigorous selection process too, but gets angry that they're so satisfied with just joining the youth team. The next goalkeeper coach named Benzin introduces himself, and Aoi finds both the coaches very friendly. Nozomi steps up next and reveals that they'll be seeing him the most, as he is in charge of the B team that they're in. Fukuda steps into the room, and Nozomi says that those who perform well will go to the team, where Fukuda will be in charge of them. All the players in the room suddenly get fired up after seeing Fukuda, and suddenly they hear motorcycles outside. The last player, Tagashi, is dropped off by his motorcycle gang, and all the parents get worried. The players are shocked that he was the guy that got scouted, and Aoi steps forward to hand him his kit. He tells him to quickly sit down as Fukuda was about to start speaking, and Tagashi asks him if he was promoted from the junior youth team. Aoi tells him how he passed the tryouts, and he replies that it's fine if he came through the tryouts, so they quickly become friends, but all the other players notice how Tagashi doesn't like the junior youth team. Kuroda tells Aoi to watch out for Tagashi and not to trust him. Nozomi notices the worried parents and tells them that many players come to Esperion just to learn from Fukuda, but the players he scouts are usually very weird, as he focuses on things long term. He asks Fukuda to give his speech, so he steps forward and suddenly announces that they'll be having an intra-squad match between the new players. After a while, all the players warm up, and Aoi goes to the side, so Takabana asks him what's wrong. He tells him that he wanted to be alone so he could focus properly, and Takabana tells him to warm up properly, as they could get promoted to the team if they perform well in this match. Hana suddenly bursts into a room to give Fukuda his lunch, but Fukuda is confused, so she reminds him how he was the one who asked him to get him lunch. He tells her how he has already eaten, which makes her angry, so she scolds him, but the owner, Jun, reveals that he asked Fukuda to call her because the daughter of Kaido Electric's president is coming over today, so she should give her company. Hana says that they don't get along, but Jun says that Kaido is their biggest sponsor, so she should help them out, and Fukuda tells her how Nozomi said nice things about him during the ceremony. Nozomi says that he is against the intra-squad match because they're all in a new place, but Fukuda says that it will quickly bring them all together. Hana is about to walk out in anger, thinking about how Fukuda doesn't think about her and asks him to come home often as their mom misses him. Nozomi questions if Fukuda is planning to give Aoi special treatment, and Aoi overhears everything from outside. He says that he doesn't see Aoi going pro unless he improves at a miraculous rate, and Hana suddenly tells him that it's not nice to say such things about a new player. She tells them how she is Aoi's first fan, so she supports him. She tells them not to speak about players like that because they never know when a fan might be listening, and she walks out. She sees that Aoi was sitting outside the window, which is slightly open, so she quickly closes it and asks him if he could hear them. He asks her if he can have the lunch she was talking about, which tells her that he could hear everything, so she gets embarrassed. He asks her why she supports him so much while eating the lunch, walking behind her, and says that he was just sitting there when they started talking. He thanks her for supporting him so much and also for helping out with his mom, and she quickly turns around to tell him that his mom, Noriko, is an amazing woman. She says that they got really close on the phone and that she felt how much Noriko cared about Aoi just through the phone calls they had. Aoi tells Hana that she's a good person and also calls her cute while Tagashi is walking nearby. Aoi gets shocked at what he just said, and she tells him that she supports him so much because he reminds him of a certain player who is very important to her. She says that watching Aoi reminds her of the time when she was totally crazy about that player. Tagashi listens to them while hiding in the bushes, and she's about to tell him her dream, but she notices that he finished the lunch she made. She scolds him that he's about to play a match and yells at him to take care of his own body if he wants to go pro. The intra-squad match between the newcomers is about to begin, and Nozomi tells them that he will tell them the basic tactics that they'll follow. Aoi recalls what Nozomi said about him and decides to prove him wrong by going pro no matter what happens. The match begins and he rushes forward like there's no tomorrow while shouting at Yuma to pass the ball to him. Takabana locks Yuma down, so he passes it to Kuroda, but Tagashi intercepts the ball after pushing him away. He shoots the ball, but it goes out after hitting the post, and Aoi asks him why he pushed Kuroda like that. He replies that they can only show their worth in a 30-minute game by scoring, but Aoi tells him that stealing the ball from his own teammate isn't the right way. In the next play, Takabana gets the ball, but Aoi steals it from him and runs toward the goal while thinking about how he will score. He thinks about all the people who have supported him, so he will score no matter what, so he can go to the team. He suddenly passes it to Yuma after seeing that all the paths are closed, but he suddenly starts walking forward slowly. The defender goes toward him, but he suddenly runs away from him, and Yuma sends him the ball, which he shoots into the goal. All the players wonder what Aoi just did by slowly walking mid-game and suddenly running past the defense line. Tsukishima talks about how the defense was holding up very well, but when Aoi started walking, it messed up their rhythm and the defender got too close due to the unexpected situation. Nozomi points out that something doesn't feel right, and Yuma asks him how he planned it out, but Aoi tells him that he doesn't remember. Nozomi says that he has an interesting skill, but his flaw will prevent him from going to pro from the J-League. Tagashi tells Kuroda that his parents are getting restless because he and Aoi have been stealing the spotlight, and that all the players from the junior team are very soft. The play resumes and Tagashi passes the ball to Aoi, who is stopped by Asari, who taunts him. Aoi gets angry and tries to dribble past him, but Asari steals it, so Yuma tells him to pass until they find the best place to shoot. Asari continues to taunt him and Kuroda passes it to him again, so he decides to one-touch it past Asari, but he gets stopped again. He recalls how his friends helped him practice his ball skills, and Hana asks Nozomi if Aoi's ball skills are what will prevent him from going pro. Tsukishima talks about how his skills are still unpolished compared to his peers, and Hana argues that ball skills can be improved, but Kaido Electric's president's daughter named Kaido Anri says that it's because of his tactics. Nozomi agrees with her while Asari steals the ball from Aoi for the third time, and Anri says that he is unable to perform any tactics. She asks Hana if he is her favorite player, and Hana argues that they weren't even given any detailed instructions before the game, so how can he perform any tactics? Nozomi says that they're talking about individual tactics, and Tagashi notices that the players that were promoted from the junior team have started to move differently. The ball goes to Aoi and Kuroda tells him to hold the ball, but the sudden instruction makes him panic and Asari clears it. Kuroda asks him why he couldn't hold the ball, so he replies that it was too sudden, so Kuroda questions how he couldn't figure what to do based on the pass and the positioning. Aoi gets confused by what Kuroda means and the game resumes while all the promoted players step up their game. Nozomi explains that the black team has realized that Aoi can't beat Asari, so they've started attacking themselves, so the other team has also begun to defend harder. Nozomi explains that their homegrown players have been drilled with this situational awareness since a very young age, but the other players can't keep up. He says that Aoi has yet to notice that they've all changed the playing style because he plays with instinct. Meanwhile, Aoi questions why no one is passing to him anymore. Aoi realizes that nobody is making any passes to him, and Asari tells him that he now knows he is a fluke since he kept wondering since the tryout match how he managed to beat him once. He decides to still participate in the match somehow, so he rushes towards the ball and Yuma tells him to practically get lost since they don't need him anymore. Yuma takes the ball to the opposite team's goal side to lure out the opponent team's defender, and he passes the ball to Kuroda. To their surprise, Tagashi runs towards them as well on Yuma's instructions. The ball is passed till it reaches Tagashi, who scores a goal. Henry tells Hana that the difference between Aoi and Yuma is that Yuma can give clear verbal instructions when he realizes what the team needs, which Aoi cannot, and Nozomi comments that Yuma is an ideal forward who can utilize his team, and because he was also the one who made Aoi's goal possible after sensing his non-verbal instructions. Aoi recalls when people never made passes to him in the past and how his team hated him in Anaheim before because of his selfish play style. He thinks about how his situation is different this time, but his team can score goals without him, which means that he is deadweight for the team now. The match ends and afterwards Yuma gets moved to team. Aoi thinks about what could have gone differently in the match, and he keeps overthinking about the whole situation since he has limited brain cells and since he isn't able to figure out what he did wrong. He is in his zen mode when he comes across Fukuda, who greets him and asks him how he even got signed since he is a talentless loser whose teammates can easily ignore him. He pushes him to the ground and tells him to go kick the ball in the corner for the next 3 years, so Aoi declares to crawl his way up soon. Fukuda calls his parents dumb for wasting on a son like him, and when Aoi warns him not to involve them in his usual trash talk, Aoi steps on him again and tells him that there are always softies like him every year in the youth team who cannot commit properly. Fukuda leaves while Aoi wonders whether he is really prepared to give his best to the youth team. He runs over to the coaches and asks them what he is lacking. He tells them that he will do anything, and he begs all of them to teach him how to play soccer. Later at night, Henry tells Hana at the bus stop that he can see why Hana likes Aoi since his playing style resembles Fukuda, and just then Fukuda walks over to them, which embarrasses her to no end. Fukuda compliments Hana for taking care of Henry while Henry blushes to her roots when Fukuda addresses her just once. She keeps yapping to him about his managing skills, and Hana recalls when she met Fukuda for the first time. In the past, Fukuda's mother marries Hana's father, and Fukuda tells his father that it is due to his mom that he can play all the soccer he wants. Hana tells him that he loves him, and she recalls how calm and confident his eyes were when she saw him for the first time. In the present, Tsukishima runs over to Fukuda and asks him to stop Aoi. They all go to the field where Aoi keeps kicking the ball towards the goal, and Tsukishima tells them when he came to them for advice. Nozomi advised him to keep kicking the ball since he has to perfect his basic skills first. Tsukishima reveals that Aoi has been kicking the ball ever since, and Hana tells Henry that Aoi's lively eyes are also similar to Fukuda, which will make him a great player if he keeps up this spirit. Aoi calls Shun and asks him how much money they have to spend on him for his 3 years stay in the youth team, so Shun offers to put their mom on the phone to discuss their finances. Aoi tells him that he cannot talk to his mom yet since he hasn't achieved anything, and as he recalls Fukuda's comments about his family, he requests him to share the finances with him again. His mom hands over a notebook to Shun, who reads out his expenses from it while Tagashi overhears Aoi talking to his brother on the phone. Shun reveals that his total yearly expenses amount to 300,000 yen for 1 year, which includes his tuition and housing, so Aoi tells him that he will pay back all the money within the 3 years. His mom tells him not to get too overworked and turns off the call. The next day the team practices passing the ball between themselves, and one teammate scolds Aoi for keeping the ball to himself, so another teammate named Tara comes in between to handle the matter. Tara advises Aoe that the youth team doesn't wait for everyone to catch up to them, and Nozomi calls them off so they jog away to continue their practice. Tara tells the teammate that he was out of the line, and when he accuses Aoe of lacking basic skills, Tara defends him by saying that he has seen Aoe practice hard even after everyone finishes their practice. Afterwards, Aoe keeps up his practice, but the ball bounces whenever he tries to receive it, and he curses himself for not improving even after putting in extra practice for a whole week. Takabana and Utomo find him and offer to practice with him. They make up an excuse that they want to review their own basics too, so Aoe agrees to practice with them. The next day, Aoe can barely stand because he is too tired, and Tsukishima tells him to ease up on his extra practice. Even Nozomi scolds him for not maintaining a proper balance, and he reveals that he got a call from the dorm telling him that 3 students are breaking curfew by coming late. He asks Tagashi, who is Aoe's roommate, whether Aoe has been breaking dorm rules, but Tagashi covers for him and replies that he doesn't know since he is asleep the whole time. Later, Tara advises him to ask Tagashi for some help since he has perfected his basics. At night, Aoe lies to Takabana and Utomo that he doesn't want to practice that day since Nozomi yelled at him, and when they go away, he tries to sneak out by himself. Tagashi stops him and tells him that he is going to burn out soon if he keeps the routine up, and Aoe tells him that he always wanted such a challenging life, so he is really enjoying himself this way. This amuses Tagashi, and he decides to help Aoe practice his basic skills. Tagashi kicks the ball at Aoe's face, and he threatens to tie him with his bike and drag him through the streets because of his uselessness and pathetic loser behavior. Aoe asks him why he is making him throw the ball at the ball when he can pass the ball to him, and Tagashi explains that he doesn't have the basic skills which would make him pass the ball to him. He keeps advising him to kill the ball when it comes to him and to open his body up for the ball, so Aoe becomes angry and he kicks the ball towards him to give him a demo and show him what he means by his advice. Tagashi effortlessly receives the quick ball and makes a precise kick at one of the ground lights. Aoe realizes what Tagashi means by being open towards the ball, and Tagashi recalls how he used to be an outcast in the past. One day, an older man notices some talent in him, so he makes him practice for 15 minutes in front of him, and when Tagashi asks him for advice, he tells him to come up with a way to improve by himself. He tells him that he will never forget a solution if he comes up with his own, and in the present, Tagashi tells Aoe that the man was Fukuda, who was managing Esperion junior youth team back then. Tagashi reveals that he has kept practicing by himself to improve himself after that, while Takabana and Utomo discover Aoe practicing with Tagashi, so they decide to join them as well. The next day, Nozomi announces to the team that they are going to hold a 4 vs 4 minigame to test their passing skills, in which the players will have a diamond formation, and they are not allowed to make long shots or challenge the opponent one-on-one, but rather they can only pass the ball between themselves. The match resumes, and Aoe manages to pass the ball to his teammate, while the other team tells each to target because he is the weakest link. Aoe recalls Tagashi's instructions on how to keep the ball moving always, and he passes the ball again. Once again, he receives the ball, and he remembers his lesson that he has to open himself to the field of vision so that he can always make passes to anyone else. He passes the ball again, and the coaches notice his improved performance too. He tells himself that every drill and every training regime has its purpose, and the other team decides to change their tactics since they cannot target Aoe now. Aoe receives the ball again, and he thinks about how his playing can improve now that he knows how to make passes. He calls a shot and passes the ball to Tara, who scores a goal. The others compliment his performance, while Asari asks Tagashi how he made Aoe improve so much in such little time. Nozomi recognizes that Aoe has finally reached the starting line, and he decides to teach him how to play soccer now. At the official training match of Esperion Youth versus another high school team, Esperion's team dominates the match by 9 goals, and Fukuda thanks their manager for the match. The manager points out to some players like Yuma and comments that they seem tired, so Fukuda tells him that they are new players who will take time to get used to the matches. Akatsu tells Yuma to leave the team if he wants to act like a wuss, while the other team members discuss how difficult it is to play without Kurabayashi, who is another player. One of the players, Takeshima, tells the others that they can't reach Fukuda's expectations this way, and Fukuda orders them to take their argument to the locker room. Yuma realizes that the team still isn't satisfied even after scoring 9 goals, while Aoe stuffs food down like a gorilla on the loose. Utomo tells him that he cannot afford to slack off because he still needs to polish his skills, and Aoe assures him that he plans to work hard as usual. He gives him and Takabana a food dressing that he thinks will go well with their noodle bowl, and they both notice that Aoe seems to notice everything about his surroundings unintentionally. Asari notices this too, and he wonders whether Aoi has some quality that others do know which makes him improve much faster than others. He tells Aoi that they are going to train with the team from now onwards, and he warns him that most newcomers cannot catch up with them. The next day, the team's captain Yoshitsune introduces himself to the newcomers, and he seems really reserved, which makes them wonder how he is the top scorer of under-18 Premier League. Fukuda tells both teams to get inspired by each other, and he then announces a match of 11 versus 21 team members. The match begins, and as expected, the team obliterates them as they dominate the field and start scoring goals. Fukuda announces a switch-up in which he includes 11 members in team and 21 in the newcomers team. The newcomers think that they will easily win, but as the match begins, Aoi notices that there are barely any spaces where they can pass the ball around due to too many people. Akatsu steals the ball from Takabana and passes it along between his team members till one of their players scores a goal. Akatsu tells Aoi that they can easily play against noobs like them who don't have actual skills even if they are outnumbered. A few reporters come to interview the team and become surprised to hear about the 11 versus 21 players match. The players discuss how to use their numbers to their advantage, and Yoshitsune notices that they are actually debating how to beat them, which is good. Terra tells him that he will let the newcomers decide the strategy on their own, and the match resumes as the newcomers try to break through the team. They realize that the team has players positioned at key spots so that the others cannot break through their area, and as Asari starts to get overwhelmed, Aoi yells at him to snap out of it. They all rush to the goal, and just when Aoi thinks about running past Akatsu, Kuroda yells at him to come back. Aoi realizes that the spot behind Akatsu has been occupied by someone else, so he urgently makes a pass to Kuroda. The other team steals the ball from him and scores one more goal, while Kuroda yells at Aoi that he doesn't even know the basics of soccer. The match ends, and Nozomi tells Aoi to figure out why Asari and Kuroda are mad at him. Later in his room, Aoi thinks about Nozomi's question, and Tagashi advises him to go out since it's their only free day during the week, but Aoi tells him that he doesn't have anywhere to go. Soon the spring break arrives, so Takabana and Utomo head home to enjoy the holidays while Tagashi heads to Kanagawa to meet up with his friends. He suggests him to hang out with Akatsu, who is also staying behind, but Aoi refuses to interact with him at all costs. He sees Asari and his friends head out too, but they just ignore him, and later he thinks about how his teammates probably have skills that he doesn't have which come natural to them, due to which there's a communication gap. He thinks that his team members probably don't even accept him in the team, and he even stops himself from calling his friends in Eheim because he cannot tell them that he hasn't achieved anything. He decides to do his basic training again, and Hana arrives to meet him. She suggests visiting the high school together since they are both in the same school, and somehow even convinces him to ride the bike with her. Utomo comes back to fetch his cologne, and he notices the both of them together, which dampens his spirits. She keeps trying to talk to him on the way to school, but he silently drags her along on the bike and doesn't say anything. She then tickles him to make him talk, which makes them both slide down on the hill. She hands him a meal plan to stick to and tells him that he should follow it to make sure he isn't prone to any injuries. She proceeds to give him 6 months meal plan in advance, and Utomo watches all of this from a distance with jealousy. Afterwards, some guys tease Hana while Aoi fetches ice cream for her. He tells her that he doesn't have a sweet tooth, so she compliments him again since a healthy diet is important for athletes like him. He asks her whether she wants to become a nutritionist, so she reveals that she wants to become a sports doctor, due to which she has been taking extra English classes too. He keeps thinking about Nozomi's question and how he should be training. She takes him to the Tokyo Myosen High School, which is affiliated with Esperion Youth, due to which it gives out scholarships to all youth members and gives them cheap tuitions. Aoi comments that the scholarship has decreased the financial burden on his family, and he starts to head back to start his training. Hana scolds him for not taking his rest days seriously, and she tells him that sees a destructive glint in his eyes sometimes, which resembles her favorite player. He yells at her to stop comparing him to her favorite all the time, and that people will get the wrong idea if a chick like her gives meal plans to him. He keeps going that he knows his body the best and that he is painfully aware of how far behind the youth team he is, so he wants to train more to overcome their gap. He yells at her to let him train, and she runs away in tears after kicking him in the face. Utomo walks up to him and comments that he knew he couldn't possibly be good with the ladies. He tells him to have a sense of what others are feeling, and that he even noticed the same thing in the last game. Later, everyone attends the opening ceremony of high school, and Yuma notices Anri in his class, so he asks her what she's doing in a small high school like theirs. She tells him that she wants to stay close to the players, and later he tells Utomo, who is his classmate, that his mother works as a cleaner in Anri's class, due to which he has known her since they were children. A lot of the other players are also in their class, and Aoe, who is in the same class, thinks about the whole situation all over again. Yuma teases him about making Hana cry, and Utomo informs them that Hana is in advanced English class, which is in a separate building. Aoe wonders what he should do, and Yuma advises him to sort his problems out before the upcoming league, where their Team B will play competitive matches as well. This fires Aoe up, so he walks over to Asari and Kuroda and asks them to discuss their problem with him, since he is a brainless idiot who cannot figure out what the problem is unless they talk it out with him. He tells them that he doesn't understand why they cannot get along with each other, so to make things simpler, he explains to them what went on in his mind during the previous matches. He tells them that he was planning to go around and tackle Akatsu by himself, but according to him they must find him very reckless, due to which they are mad at him. He goes on to say that he wants to score more goals with them, and he then asks them about their opinions on the whole matter. Nozomi and Fukuda discuss that the New Years are struggling to get along with each other, and Nozomi asks Fukuda whether he really shouldn't give direct advice to Aoe to improve him, but Fukuda tells him to let Aoe work out matters on his own like a big boy. He assures him that Aoe will sort out everything even if he takes time. Kuroda asks Aoe about his plans in the game to move around Akatsu, so Aoe starts yapping about how he had two plans in which he could pass the ball to Takabana, and the ball would ultimately come back to him so that he could score a goal. He explains his second plan and third plan, which also revolved around him scoring at the end, and Asari yells at him to stop talking since he can only think about scoring by himself. Aoe becomes angry to hear this, since he thinks that his role as forward only consists of scoring, and he tells them that he wants to become the best forward in the world. Asari comments that he cannot believe he took his teammate's spot in the youth team, and he and Utomo both get in a fight when they argue about the tryouts and the final selection. Afterwards, Nozomi tells Aoe that he is making him a starter in 1 week if he can show him that he understands where he is lacking, and that if he fails to show it to him, he won't give him another chance in 3 months. Tara scolds the newcomers for behaving so childishly, since he believes their behavior is affecting team morale, and it will cost them their first match in the upcoming tournament. At the Tokyo Metropolis League's first match, Aoe discusses with Takabana and Utomo how tension is still high with Asari and how they can't play the match feeling this way, while Aoe decides to give his best in the match. He notices Fukuda at a distance talking with Hana, so he runs up to him and tells Hana on the phone that he has been following her meal plan and that he is now a starter in an official match. He tells her to come cheer for him, and Fukuda asks him whether they can win the match. He asks him how he plans to win the match, and Aoe replies that he will score many goals, so Fukuda tells him that soccer is not a one-man game but it's a team game, due to which it's so fun to play soccer. A reporter worries about not being able to record a good match because only Team B is participating in the match, and Hana takes him to watch the match, which is a disaster in process. During the match, the Esperion team keeps messing up, and Utomo's pass is wrongly received by Takeshima. All three forwards rush to receive the ball, due to which the opposite team steals the ball and scores a goal. In the first 35 minutes of the match, the opponent team scores 3 goals and takes the lead. During their break, Tara scolds the new members for demotivating the whole team, and he tells them that they can never be professionals. Aoe thinks about Nozomi's question again and what Asari and Kuroda want from him, but he still cannot think of an answer. Meanwhile, Tara requests the coaches to switch out the newcomers, especially Aoe, Asari and Kuroda, and he tells Tagashi to switch in the game, which makes them all puzzled since Tagashi may ruin the game even more. Tagashi tells everyone that he isn't sure if he can even play with self-conceited and arrogant players like the junior team members or the new tryout members, which pisses off everyone, and Aoe tells him that everyone is trying their best since no winning is the most important for them. Nozomi warns them that they should clear the air in the second half since it's the only chance he is giving them, otherwise they will have to run laps all summer. They take his advice seriously, and as they go to the ground for the second half, they notice that the opponent team has put 6 defenders at the back because they want to protect their leading scorer. Tara warns the forwards to sort out the matter between them since they are in the same line, and Aoe thinks about how they 3 were in the same line when they went against Team A in their last match. He starts to realize his mistake, and the match resumes as Team B tries their best to break the defense of the other team. The referee warns one of the players to stop playing so roughly, while Asari taunts the other team's members for playing like a bunch of losers, and he replies that they want to win against the youth team at any cost. Aoe tells Asari that he seems good at overlapping and that somehow he is always behind him during the game. Asari runs away to Kuroda, and Aoe tells the others that Kuroda always positions himself between him and Asari as if they are a line. He starts to notice a pattern and he realizes that he failed to notice something very obvious which was in front of his eyes. Tsukishima advises Nozomi to switch out Asari and Aoi because their conflict will just keep getting worse, but Nozomi decides to give 5 more minutes to them. Asari gets the ball and Aoi thinks about how Asari and Kuroda are always at an equal distance on the field. He notices that Kuroda is just beside Asari, so he runs near Asari, who passes the ball to him, and he passes the ball to Kuroda, who is just a few feet away from him. He doesn't move ahead to cover Kuroda, due to which Kuroda loses the ball, and the other team gets a goal kick, but Kuroda tells Aoi that he did well. Tsukishima tells Nozomi that Aoi's performance is really bad in the match, so they should switch him out, and Nozomi advises him to think outside the box. Asari assures himself that Aoi is still a pathetic loner who doesn't know basic soccer, but just then Aoi comes into his vision, and when Kuroda passes the ball to him, he passes it to Aoi, who perfectly receives it. They all pass the ball between themselves again while the opponent team makes fun of them for fooling around. Aoi thinks he should have gone to cover Kuroda right after passing the ball to him, so he passes the ball to Kuroda once again, who passes it back to him. He passes the ball once more to Kuroda, and this time he rushes forward to receive the ball. He doesn't pass the ball to Takabana or Tagashi even when they ask him, since he believes his coordination with Asari and Kuroda is really important right now. He rushes to the goal by himself, but at the end, even when he has a clear shot, he doesn't score a goal, but instead he passes the ball to Asari, who scores a goal. Terra tells them to keep up their coordination to win the game, while Aoi wonders why he unconsciously passed the ball to Asari. He realizes that his playing style is changing, and up next, when he receives the ball, he rushes towards the goal with Asari and Kuroda. The reporter tells Hana that the 3 of them are communicating through eye contact, so they must have a deep understanding. Aoi passes the ball to Asari and he yells at Kuroda to rush forward. Kuroda runs forward and Asari passes the ball to him, due to which he scores a goal. Nozomi explains that Aoi's biggest weakness is that he views soccer from his perspective, like how he will score or how he will lead the team, but fundamental shape in soccer is a triangle, as it takes at least 3 players to do anything. Hopefully no Messi fans hear him say this. One of the other team's players falls down to buy more time, which makes Tagashi get angry, so the referee gives him a yellow card. Kuroda hands Aoi a water bottle and reminds him of how he told them to focus on the basics during the 11 vs 21 game. He explains that his words resonated with them all, as the point of that match was to check if they could play properly in a number difference. He says that the fundamental shape in soccer is a triangle, which was drilled into their heads ever since they were juniors. Aoi realizes that they were trying to make a triangle with him at that time, and Asari explains that Aoi's words started it, but he could not keep up because he never looked at them. Aoi says that they could have told him, and Kuroda says that they always used to talk about the importance of triangles during their daily training sessions, but Aoi was never interested in it. He gets frustrated that he wanted to learn soccer from scratch but never thought about learning from his own teammates, and he thanks the 2 for teaching him. The game resumes and the triangle moves forward as Aoi scans the whole play while they pass around, and he starts seeing the field from the top. He sees Utomo and starts running in his direction while signaling Asari to pass towards Utomo by pointing towards him. The defenders focus on Aoi and Asari passes to Utomo, who is fully open, so he shoots it into the goal. Nozomi and all the players get shocked at the play, and Anri explains that Aoi rebuilt the triangle by removing himself and adding Utomo. Aoi starts whispering about how he could see what everyone will do next. The journalist is shocked that Aoi managed to learn about triangles and use them perfectly in a single match. They go into extra time with only 3 minutes remaining, and Yuma recalls when the trio had an argument. He points out that Aoi accurately drew all the players' positions on the board, and only the people who noticed it stayed after class. At that time, Tagashi told them that Aoi perfectly performs something the moment it really settles in him. Amri says that he can most likely predict how the players will move, and the journalist laughs it off, telling them not to involve fantasies into soccer, as it is impossible for someone to remember the placement of all the players on the field. Aoi starts getting tired as his head feels heavy and he goes to pick the ball. Hana hands it to him after telling him to calm down. He suddenly becomes fresh again and says that he will get a goal for her. All the youth players suddenly go into offense mode and the opponents try to hold Aoi down, but he passes it to Asari. He signals Kuroda to move forward while watching the field from the top, and he quickly scores a goal which gets them the win. A mysterious man talks to Fukuda about how Aoi is very impressive and reveals that Akatsu wouldn't stop talking about him. That's why he came to watch the match. He says that Aoe is yet to figure out his own abilities, and Fukuda says that it's rare for him to compliment someone so much. Nozomi takes the B team to celebrate their win and says that the team also won and are currently on the way back. He reveals that Kaido is sponsoring their celebration and they all dig into their food. Aoe joyfully enjoys him, but Hana gets mad at the way he grills the meat, so she shows him the best way to do it. Aoe is surprised to learn that all the other players know her too, and Kuroda reveals that she has been helping them out since their time in the junior team. He says that Asari wants to tell them something, and Asari apologizes to them for insulting them previously. Takabana gets up and starts throwing down cringe dialogues about how they will build up friendship. He even makes Utomo and Asari shake hands to commemorate their newly built friendship like they're in elementary school, which makes them both embarrassed. Kuroda tells Aoe that he liked the things he said during their argument and that Aoe isn't bound by theories, so he can learn a lot from Aoe. All the players get up to watch Kurabayashi make his debut in the J1 League, and Anri introduces herself to Aoe. She asks whether he would like to do some image training and tells him to try to follow Kurabayashi's movement while picturing what he would do if he was in Kurabayashi's place. She asks him to define the whole scene to her side by side, and Hana also notices Anri talking to him. The first thing that the genius says is that he would have looked happier if he was in Kurabayashi's place, and the match begins. Aoe guesses that he is about to get tackled, but he easily runs past the defender, and Anri explains that he took advantage of the dangerous moment to run past the defender. Aoe thinks that he will run past another defender, and he quickly points out that they'll use the triangle to shake off the defender. They do as he says, and he says that they'll go left next, but Kurabayashi makes an amazing pass to the right, but it doesn't turn into a goal. Anri says that it's amazing how he fearlessly tries different things, and Aoe wonders if Kurabayashi is actually an alien in disguise. Kurabayashi tells his teammate that he will be doing flashy individual plays whenever he gets the chance because it's his debut and he needs people to remember him if he wants to be a starter. Aoe is shocked by how amazing he is, and Anri says that she wanted to see how Aoe would feel while watching him so she can use that for her future reference. She reveals that Kurabayashi once said that he always thinks up of 4 options during every situation, and Aoe says that he only says one course of action at a given moment. She tells him to expand his options and says that there is something he could learn from watching how Kurabayashi plays. The match ends with Esperion's victory, and all the newcomers are shocked to see how much of a monster Kurabayashi really is. The players that came from the juniors team don't look shocked, so Tara explains that they've been watching Kurabayashi since they were juniors. He explains that they all used to think that they would be the top player at the youth academy when they joined, but all decided to aim for the second place instead after watching Kurabayashi play. On the TV, his interview begins, and he says that he has been practicing with the first time for a while now, but has never felt like he can't keep up with them. The interviewer talks about his thin physique, so he looks at the interviewer like he is in a death stare competition. Anri explains that he is the bane of interviewers, and he always looks at them like he knows what they're after. Meanwhile, the team watches Kurabayashi telling the interviewer that only those without techniques chase after a physique, and Fukuda tells their forward Yoshitsune to sit out for the next few matches due to an injury. Aoe thinks about what Kurabayashi said and realizes that he confidently believes that techniques are more important than physique. Anri tells him to move up to team as soon as possible if he wants to play with Kurabayashi as an equal. She reminds him to keep in mind what she said earlier, and Aoe confidently brags that he already knows what he can add to his own play after watching Kurabayashi. He suddenly notices that Hana is nowhere to be seen, and the Who team is told about how Yoshitsune got injured, so some attackers will be chosen for team A based on how they play in the next game. Simultaneously, Hana thinks about how Anri and Aoe were talking, and she gets frustrated about how she spent so long to make a meal plan for her, but she wonders why she just couldn't give it to him after watching them talk. Nozomi asks Fukuda about Aoe, and he just answers that the sooner they move forward with it, the better. A few days go by and the next match is about to begin, as Aoe is all excited about how they get to play every week, and Utomo wonders how Aoe isn't tired. Tara says that he has been practicing at night for the past week, and Aoe says that he will show them all what he learned from watching Kurabayashi play. All the coaches arrive, so the match begins, and Nozomi tells Fukuda about how the players try even harder when Fukuda is watching. The players perfectly pass around, and Anri is surprised to see how much their coordination has improved in a single week. Aoe gets the ball and recalls Anri's words while answering that what he needs is a killer pass. He suddenly shoots it to the side, and turns out that he was trying to make a killer pass, but his accuracy is very bad. He gets the ball again in the next play, so he tries to pass again, but the ball goes somewhere else. Yuma talks about how Aoe's plan was right, but he just isn't able to pull it off as both times. He tried to pass to players that were hidden behind the opponents, but Aoashi coldly tells him not to talk so much. Fukuda notices how all the players are looking at him again and again, and the halftime whistle blows. During the halftime break, Fukuda tells them all to focus on the game instead of looking at him repeatedly because the goal is in front of them. Nozomi briefs everyone about the strategy they'll follow in the second half, and Aoashi thinks about how he never even looked at the bench. Nozomi tells Aoashi to pay attention to Kurabayashi's movement if he wants to imitate him, and that not every killer pass has to long and hard. He says that a pass is just a means to get to the goal, and all the other players are shocked that those random shots were actually passes. The game resumes, and Aoashi thinks about Kurabayashi's movement, which helps him realize what Nozomi meant. He suddenly sees where he should pass, and he makes the pass, which goes to Utomo, who runs toward the right wing. He suddenly notices Aoashi in the middle, so he passes to him, and Aoashi does a slider to score a goal. Fukuda says that it's impressive how Aoashi was able to envision himself scoring that kind of goal, while Aoashi brags about how he is a genius forward. Fukuda tells Nozomi to send Aoashi to the clubhouse after the match and says that he wants to tell Aoashi himself. Aoashi goes to meet Fukuda after the match, all excited that he will be sent to the team now. Fukuda compliments him by saying that their victory today was all thanks to his performance. Aoashi replies that it's all thanks to Fukuda for bringing him to Esperion and giving him the chance to enjoy soccer so much. He says that there is still a lot more left to learn and asks to be promoted to team. He says that he might not be able to replace Yoshitsune right away, but promises that he will get better. Fukuda points out that it's their first time talking alone after the beach and apologizes that he can't promote Aoashi just yet. He tells Aoashi to turn into a defender so he can play on the world stage as a fullback specialist. This shakes Aoashi to the core, and Fukuda says that he will never play as a forward again, so Aoashi questions if he is not a good forward. Fukuda explains that he was able to do well because of his natural gift, but it can only be fully used from the back. Aoashi yells that he came to Esperion so he could be the best forward in the world, so Fukuda explains why Aoashi can never be a forward. He says that the ball doesn't stay at Aoashi's feet, nor does he have any agility or explosive sprint, and all of this was decided the moment he was born, so it can't be changed. He says that he planned to make Aoashi a defender the moment they met, and Aoashi complains why Fukuda didn't tell him at that time. He replies that Aoashi wouldn't have come to Esperion that way, and says that he should leave if he can't be a defender because they don't need players that can't be good enough. Aoashi leaves the room with a dreadful look and walks by Anri, who notices how he is having a mental breakdown. He walks around mindlessly with dead eyes, and back in the clubhouse, Tara, Kuroda, and Asari learn that they're being moved up to Team A while Akatsu will fill the gap left by Yoshitsune. Nozomi tells the newly promoted players that they won't be ready for matches right away, so they'll play in both A and B teams. Utomo mentions how it's surprising that Aoashi wasn't promoted, and Tagashi questions why Aoashi isn't present. Nozomi recalls the time when Fukuda told him who he's going to choose from the tryouts, and Nozomi objected to selecting Aoashi, so Fukuda told him how he plans to turn Aoashi into a defender. Nozomi told him how Aoashi will never agree, and in the present he watches the notice board about Aoashi's transition. All the players see the notice board and are shocked that they're turning someone obsessed with scoring into a defender. Tagashi goes out and they all go after him to look for Aoashi, while Hana also learns about the situation from Anri. Nozomi recalls how Fukuda noticed Aoashi sitting outside the window, so he asked Nozomi to criticize Aoashi, which will drive him to work harder so he can get the basics down quicker before Fukuda tells him his plan. He thinks about how things have always turned out the way Fukuda predicts them, even when they were both used to play together. He thinks about how he and Aoashi will go a long way if things go according to Fukuda's plan, but wonders if this was really the right thing to do. Hana rides around the streets looking for Aoashi, and she finally finds him sitting at a bus stop. She tells him not to have such a dead look in his eyes and sneaks him into the club room where she cooks a meal to cheer him up. He asks her how she knew where he would be, and she explains that she knew he wouldn't be hanging in the streets to not get found. She says that she felt like his mind would steer towards Eheim, so he would probably be at a bus stop. He says that his mind was totally blank and he doesn't know how he ended up at the bus stop. He tells Hana that her brother is very mean, but Hana replies that there is always a reason behind everything that Fukuda says. She says that she knows how much Aoashi cares about scoring and questions if he feels like quitting. He tells her that he cannot afford to quit now, and she suddenly calls Noriko before putting the phone next to his face. Noriko picks up the call and notices that it's Aoashi on the other side of the phone, who is silent. She tells him not to get too worked up too much and that he can come back home anytime if things don't work out. The dead look on Aoashi's face disappears and he tells her not to worry, so she cuts the call. Hana tells him not to push himself into a corner and says that he should think of soccer as soccer. Aoi starts eating the meal she cooked for him while back at the dorm. Akatsu does some lifting when Kurabayashi enters the room. He asks him why he came to the dorm even though he doesn't live in the dorm, and Kurabayashi reveals that he came to meet Aoi. Akatsu tells him that he has not come to the dorm yet because he was a useless forward, so they turned him into a defender, which was a shock to him. Kurabayashi questions what he's shocked about because he should have always been a defender and points out that Akatsu knew this from the start. Aoi comes back to the dorm and Akatsu says that Aoi will be a pain in the ass for the defenders, so he should just quit. Aoi walks up to him and requests Akatsu to teach him how to be a good defender. Kurabayashi looks at Aoi's meal plan that he found on the bench and thinks about how he will just ask him later about who made it. Aoi returns to his room after getting beaten up by the dorm mother for being late with a handprint on his face. Tagashi says that it's time to teach Aoi the basics of being a defender, and Asari also joins, saying that he wants to pay off his debt by helping Aoi out. They decide to teach him about a shuffle first, which means to fill the gap if one defender moves forward, so they give him a full lecture about it, but he tells them that even he knows that much about soccer. The next day, at the end of the training, Nozomi tells them to have a mini-match against each other so they can tell Hana that her brother is very mean, but Hana replies that there is always a reason behind everything that Fukuda says. She says that she knows how much Aoi cares about scoring and questions if he feels like quitting. He tells her that he cannot afford to quit now, and she suddenly calls Noriko before putting the phone next to his face. Noriko picks up the call and notices that it's Aoi on the other side of the phone who is silent. She tells him not to get too worked up too much and that he can come back home anytime if things don't work out their positions better. The match is about to begin and Nozomi tells Aoi to give it his all, so he steps into the position where he realizes how he can see the whole field from the back. Aoi asks Takeshima if he wants Aoi to do anything particular, so he tells Aoi to do the shuffle right, and that he can also move forward to attack sometimes if he wants to. Aoi decides to give it his best at being a defender like he has any other choice. Aoi decides that he will play as a fallback now rather than a forward, but he still decides not to abandon his position as a forward, and he even wonders why Fukuda would give him that advice. He notices that the field seems extraordinarily big from his position, and he recalls Takeshima's words telling him that he can either join the offense or stay at his position, so he decides that it is not the time to defend right now. He starts to rush forward, but Takeshima stops him and reminds him that the left defender has already run forward, so he needs to stay at his position, and that he needs to look at his teammates before deciding whether to shuffle or not. The ball is passed to Utomo, but the other team steals the ball from him and rushes to the goal. Aoi braces himself to defend the goal even though he hates defending, and he moves sideways to tackle the defender, but Takeshima yells at him to keep shuffling, which makes Aoi wonder how he can leave such a huge space open on his left. One of the defenders steals the ball from the other team, due to which the ball goes outbound, and Takeshima scolds him to remember the risks of defending. He tells him to always remember that there is no one behind him, and Tagashi tells him that he cannot move to the middle since they have to tighten their positions. Utomo passes the ball to Aoi and he rushes ahead without any second thought, but he recalls Takeshima's advice telling him to always keep the positions of his teammates in his mind. He looks back to see that Masuko, the other defender, is staying put on his spot, but just then, the team's defender and midfielder rush towards Aoi. Before he can pull the ball back, a team steals the ball from him and Akatsu rushes towards the goal with other two players. Tagashi wonders whether Akatsu is aiming to break through the left side, but since most of their forwards are still in the middle of the field, he cannot break away from his position to steal the ball from him. As predicted, Akatsu gets the ball and, taking advantage of the left gap, he scores a goal. Aoi wonders what he should do since he doesn't know when to move forward or when to move back, and he don't know how far to shuffle, which frustrates him a lot. Akatsu as usual starts trash talking that the B team seems to be suffering a lot without Terra, and that their defense seems to be particularly lacking. He tells Aoi to go back to the dorm to start packing, which is probably the 100th time he has given the same advice at this point. The match resumes and Aoi keeps having his crisis that he belongs to the middle field rather than the backside. He steps forward and Takeshima reminds him that Masuko is already pushing ahead, so he needs to stay in his position. Tima rushes towards them, and since Aoi hasn't shuffled his position, they manage to find a gap from where they can score. Just as Akatsu makes his shot, Utomo blocks it with his face, and up next Tagashi blocks him by going head to head against him. The ball is passed around till Tima gets it again, and when they try to score a goal, Aoi blocks their shot this time. Tima gets a corner kick while Coach Tsukishima reminds everyone that they don't need to exert so much energy for a mini game. Aoe apologizes to Utomo and he tells him to apologize to Tagashi, who has to come back to defend the ball even though he should be playing in the midfield. Aoe apologizes to Tagashi as well, but he tells him to apologize to Utomo, and Aoe realizes that he is being a big burden on his teammates even though he doesn't even want to be on the defense anyway. Tima gets ready for the corner kick and Aoe predicts his direction, so he moves to the outer flank where there's no Tima player stationed. To everyone's surprise, the ball gets kicked to the outer flank, and just when they think they have lost the ball to Team A, Aoe rushes to the spot. He takes the ball and makes a long shot to the midfield where Takabana can receive it, but to his bad luck, the ball goes out of the field instead. The match finishes, and as usual Akatsu trash talks about Aoe's non-existent skills, so Tagashi reminds him that their team could only manage to score once against their loser team. Later, Takeshima advises Aoe about tightening his defensive skills and tells him that his play at the end wasn't really bad, so he should work on his vision more. Aoe doesn't understand what he is saying at all, so Takeshima tells him to watch the playing style of Kurabayashi because he can take inspiration from one of his qualities. Afterwards, Anri asks Tagashi and Yuma why Fukuda has made Aoe a defender even though he has other skills that can be utilized better, so Tagashi replies that he doesn't have time to entertain a rich girl's thoughts. Yuma tells him that Amri wants to become a manager of the team like Fukuda, because of which she wants to learn more about such tactics, and Amri also tells him that her dream is to become a manager of any small team to help them out. Tagashi in return asks her about her opinion on Fukuda's decision, so she reveals that she didn't think Aoe was a good player in the beginning, but now after watching his play, she thinks the best playing position for him is the central midfielder position, where he can perfectly use his vision to predict the position of some players. Tagashi tells her that it doesn't matter whether it's not scientifically possible for Aoe to predict the movement of all the players in the field, since during the match, they all rely on their senses and talent. Yuma also tells her that the fact she thinks Aoe should play as a midfielder means that she doesn't find fullback defenders useful, so she should drop his old notions. They both then reveal that Fukuda probably plans to make Aoe a playmaker, due to which he puts him back as a fullback. Aoe watches a clip of a match in which Kurabayashi is playing to see how his play can inspire him, and he then runs to Nozomi where he asks him to give recordings of all of Kurabayashi's matches. In the upcoming days, Aoe remains distracted in all of his practice matches, and his teammates scold him endlessly because he cannot even concentrate on the ball properly. Nozomi recalls when Aoe told him that there's a specific trick that Kurabayashi uses in his matches that he wants to confirm by watching all his past matches. Takeshima then asked Aoe whether he is ready to become a defender now, and he replied that he doesn't know whether he is ready or not, but he doesn't want to be a burden on his teammates. Aoe thinks about how Kurabayashi moves his head around like a chicken whenever he receives a ball, whenever he passes the ball, and even when he doesn't have the ball on him. He realizes that he used to unintentionally move his head too, but he should now move it around like Kurabayashi to perfect this skill. On the field, he keeps moving his head, but he misses all of his passes, and he fails to shuffle ahead properly too because of pointlessly moving his head around. His teammates become very angry at him, and he realizes that he is just being a chicken head by moving his head uselessly. He decides to abandon this technique for a while because he is troubling everyone, and just when he receives the ball, he realizes that Takabana is onto him. Without even realizing it himself, he passes the ball to Utomo, who is very far from his vision, and just then, Nozomi announces that he is going to announce the starters for the third match of the tournament. Hana comes to the cafeteria to volunteer, and Kurabayashi asks to speak to her. Meanwhile, Aoe doesn't get selected for the team or even the bench, and he tells Anri that he wants to master Kurabayashi's technique so that he can move his head around unconsciously too. Kurabayashi tells Hana about the meal plans that she has prepared for the team members, and he appreciates her efforts, especially when she patched him up once when he was injured. He tells her that he wants to reach the world stage and that he wants her to make a meal plan for him since he is a very picky eater. She agrees to make it on one condition, and she tells him that Aoe looks up to him a lot, so maybe he can give him some advice. Just then she sees Aoe walk away with Anri, so she stops herself and tells Kurabayashi that she will make a meal plan for him. Anri shows Aoe by dribbling the ball herself that he should look to his left and right whenever he kicks or receives the ball, but rather than just randomly looking, he should try to focus on something specific whenever he looks to his sides. He tells her that her ball control is great and that he will listen to her advice by practicing 1,000 times. Aoe starts practicing on the spot as he kicks the ball and looks to his sides to spot a leaf or tree, while Anri thinks that Aoe is very positive since even being kicked out of the team doesn't seem to be affecting him a lot. She even finds him cute while Aoe thinks about the pass he made to Utomo during their last practice. He tries to recall another moment when he did the same thing, and he decides to perfect Kurabayashi's technique while he is removed from the team. He also recalls Takeshima's advice that he should use his wide vision, and something clicks in his mind. The next day, Team B loses their match against the other team with 1 goal, and due to 4 consecutive losses, they are at a risk of falling down to relegation zone within the tournament, which can impact their team in the upcoming years too. Tara tells the team that they must not fall into the relegation zone, and Takabana apologizes to the team for not scoring enough as a forward. The other forwards are also to be blamed, and Takeshima tells them that the defenders are perfectly doing their job. The team wonders whether the coaches are thinking of bringing Aoe back as a forward, and just when they wonder where Aoe is, somebody tells them that Aoe always practices for 1 hour by himself after their regular sessions. The others discuss that the forwards need to step up their game, especially for their match against Musashino, who hasn't lost any of their games. Somebody tells Tara that Musashino has a new extraordinary manager, and Tara even comments that Musashino is Takabana's old team. Later, Takabana finds Aoe practicing by himself, and Aoe tells him that he prioritized practicing because he wants to work on himself. Takabana calls him amazing because he never sulks even after playing so pathetically, and he watches all matches with vigor. But Aoe tells him that he has only recently started watching all the matches to work on his vision and to observe how he can improve his gameplay. Takabana wonders how he can become more like him, while Utomo and Tagashi walk up to them and invite them to eat out. At Musashino, the players discuss their upcoming match against Esperion youth, and some players wonder how much Aoe, Takabana, and Utomo have improved. Takabana tells the others that he doesn't want to go to his old town Musashino since he hasn't achieved anything big, but they still drag him with them to eat food. The others tell him on the way that he sulks over the team's losses too much, so Takabana replies that he feels responsible for their losses since it's his job to score goals as a forward. Aoe says that he also feels responsible after every loss, due to which he keeps thinking how he can improve his play to make the team win the next time. They reach the restaurant area where they come across Nakano, who was with them at the tryouts. Takabana notices that Nakano is wearing Musashino's jacket, so he asks him about it, and he reveals that he and Kanda were scouted by manager Sadek from Musashino Youth Club after they failed the tryout. Kanda arrives at the scene too when they start chit-chatting with him, but he just pushes Aoe away from him. He tells Aoe that he didn't deserve to pass the tryouts and that he failed because he got too cozy with all of them, due to which he will never ever forgive any of them. He tells Nakano to stop talking with the losers as well, and when Aoe suggests that they should talk things out, he blames Aoe for all his failures. Takabana scolds him for blaming Aoe for his shortcomings, so he tells Takabana that he has scored 7 goals in the tournament as a forward, while Takabana has failed to score even a single goal. He tells Aoe that he is the biggest failure of all of them since he has been demoted to a fullback now, so Aoe argues with him that Takabana and Utomo are both amazing players while he is working on himself, and he will soon be in the lineup too. Kanda tells him that he will crush him in the match and he will make Esperion youth regret for not choosing him. He walks away and Nakano apologizes to everyone on his behalf, so Utomo asks him how he is okay playing with such a jerk. Tagashi comments that Kanda seems pretty confident in his skills and he must have worked pretty hard after failing at the tryouts. Aoe realizes that Kanda's grip seemed pretty tight too, and Nakano tells everyone that their team consists of all the players who were rejected by J-youth teams, and they are a very strong team under the guidance of their manager Sadek. Takabana asks him how manager Sadek is doing, and Nakano tells him that he seemed pretty concerned about him and he also wished he would call him from time to time. Nakano walks away while Utomo tells Takabana to cheer up. The next day, Nozomi instructs Team B to win the match against Tama University at any cost, and he reveals the team formation. He introduces the team to Yoshitsune, who used to be Team A's captain, and Yoshitsune tells the team that his injury is healing up nicely, but his game sense isn't back to what it was, due to which he is playing with them. With Yoshitsune as their forward, the team thinks that they will definitely win the match, but they still have doubts about Aoe, who will be a fullback defender during the match. Before the match, Aoe jogs around the area to focus on soccer, and Utomo tells Yoshitsune that Aoe has always been like this. Tagashi recalls Nozomi's advice, in which he told him and Aoe to maintain their positions as a fullback and that they can attack once they have perfected their defense. Tagashi tells his teammates to be wary of him since he can attack too, and the team members discuss whether they can really play with Takabana, who seems distracted, and with Aoe, who is as pathetically useless as always. Anri pedals behind Aoe and tells him to stop wearing himself out. She keeps pestering him while he thinks about Fukuda's instructions, Takeshima's advice, and everything else. She tells him that Hana is also coming to watch the match, and he tells her that he has been practicing all by himself for so long that now he is back in the team. He is really happy even if he is playing as a fullback. He comments that he wants to show Hana a good game, so he heads back and he thinks about how he wants to do something special in the game. The match begins, and right off the bat even the audience realizes that Aoashi is the weak link of the team since he keeps messing up the defense. Tama's player does a feint play, so Aoashi rushes at him and he easily moves around Aoashi to score a goal. At the end, Tagashi blocks his attack and the others yell at Aoashi to stop the attacker when he comes within his zone at any cost. Anri approaches a reporter who has especially come to watch Aoashi play, while Aoashi tells himself to calm his overexcited nerves down. Tama's players discuss that Aoashi is the weak link of Team B, so they should try to score goals by going in his direction, and they also discuss how Yoshitsune hasn't been a problem for them. The reporter whines to Anri that Aoashi's skills have been rendered useless by moving him to the fullback position, while Aoashi keeps looking around him, which is the skill that he has been working on the past few weeks. Tama's players rush towards him and he tells himself to calm down, but just then Hana yells at him to give it his best. He suddenly calms down and thinks about the positions of all the players in the field. He yells at Utomo to mark player number 26 of the other team, and just when Utomo follows his instructions, Tama's forward player hesitates since he can now only pass to one other player. He passes it to another player, and Aoashi, who has already predicted his move, rushes to that side and steals the ball. Hana meets up with the reporter and she also waves at Aoashi, to which Anri comments that Aoashi should remain focused on the match only. Aoashi thinks about how he has to keep an eye on the ball carrier as well as the other players to determine where the spaces are between the players, and he tells himself to notice the spaces which the other team will use. Tama's team gets the ball, so they rush towards Aoashi again, and this time he runs towards them as well. They manage to move the ball around him, after which they attempt to score a goal again, but the goalie stops their attack. Takeshima yells at Aoashi that he shouldn't leave such a big space behind him, and Aoashi thinks about why his vision didn't work this time even though he managed to intercept his opponents last time. Nozomi calls him over and asks him to explain what went on his mind during both of the plays. When Aoashi is done explaining, Nozomi asks him what was the main difference during both of the plays, and Aoashi realizes something. The match resumes as Tama gets the ball again, and Aoashi directs Utomo to move to the center while he rushes ahead to target player number 26. He realizes that his play failed to work last time because he didn't use the other players around him to his advantage, so he should issue directions to others from behind. He notices that there's a space which Tama can use to their advantage to score goals, and just when Tama's players kick the ball towards that space, Yoshitsune intercepts their attack and steals the ball. He calls Aoashi interesting and kicks the ball to him while he runs ahead. Aoashi makes a long pass to him, and as Yoshitsune runs towards the goal he crosses a few players on his own. He then makes a pass to a side, but nobody receives it, and he realizes that Team B isn't ready for his advanced moves yet. Yoshitsune gets the ball again, and with the help of Tagashi, he rushes towards the goal and scores a goal. Takabana realizes that he can never become a forward like Yoshitsune, while Aoashi asks him how he can become more like him, so he tells him to climb his own ladder. The first half ends and Aoashi tells Yoshitsune that he loves his playing style, so he replies that there's only one other player who he is jealous of. He reveals that the player is Kurabayashi and that Aoashi reminds him of Kurabayashi. He jokingly tells him that he will give him an autograph afterwards since he really seems to like his gameplay. Anri tells the reporters that the team isn't playing well, so they should think about scoring goals without relying on Yoshitsune, and she even comments on Hana that she doesn't seem to know much about soccer. The team does a relay in which the players tell each other to rely on Yoshitsune to score more goals, and Takeshima assures them that they will keep up the good defense. Before the match starts, Tagashi tells Aoashi that he will go on attack mode since the team shouldn't fully rely on Yoshitsune, and he asks him what he is going to do. The match begins and Tama's players surround Yoshitsune from the get-go, which makes it hard for the other players to pass the ball to him. Aoashi thinks about how he wants to score goals too like Yoshitsune, and just when he thinks about running ahead, he notices that there's space in the right wing for some reason. Tagashi also leaves his position to rush forward, and Aoashi notices that their other defender Ishiki seems to be in pain. Tagashi runs after the Tama's player, and Takeshima does the same from the other side, but at the last moment they fail to properly sandwich the players, due to which Tama's player crosses them both and scores a goal, even though Aoashi also tries to stop him at the end. Aoashi yells at them both for not defending the goal properly, while Nozomi decides to change the formation of the team. He switches Ishiki out, who is injured, and he also sends new directions to Aoashi. In the new formation, Ishiki gets replaced by another player called Numazu, while the anchorman gets moved to the defense line, and as a result Tagashi and Aoashi get to move forward. Nozomi instructs both Tagashi and Aoashi to move forward and attack while defending the goal as well, and he also tells them to apply the defensive techniques that they have learned in their attacks. Aoashi wonders how he should remain in defense and offense side by side, and just then Utomo gets the ball, so he tells him to follow him and to stay at a distance behind him. He passes the ball to Aoashi, who notices a gap through which the ball can be passed to Yoshitsune, so he passes the ball to Yoshitsune next. Nozomi and Tsukishima discuss that they always meant to change the strategy of the game in the middle and that the players need to adjust to the new style now. Aoashi, Utomo and Yoshitsune keep passing the ball between each other, which frustrate Tama's players since they can't steal the ball, and Aoashi notices that Tama's number 19 player is closing in on them, so he yells at Utomo to pass the ball. Utomo passes the ball to Yoshitsune, who passes the ball back to Aoashi. In time, Aoashi hopes that Utomo can predict his pass. Aoashi then passes the ball to the front of the goal, which Utomo receives perfectly, and just when Utomo aims to make a shot, Aoashi yells at him to not kick. Utomo stops at the last second, due to which he manages to evade one of Tama's player attacks, and he makes a shot again, which gets stopped by Tama's goalie. The ball towards Aoashi again, and this time he thinks about how he has a direct shot towards the goal. He realizes that he can also pass the ball to Takebana, who can make a shot towards the goal. And at the last moment he recalls Kurabayashi's advice, which told him to come up with 4 viable options and to go with one of them. He kicks the ball towards Tagashi, who headbutts it towards the goal, and finally Team B scores their second goal. The team compliments Tagashi and Aoa's efforts, while Aoashi tells Takebana that he looked very distracted during the last moment. Hana decides to leave, and the reporter gives her a photo from the last match in which she is handing the ball over to Aoashi. The match goes into extra time while Nozomi and Tsukishima discuss the unpredictable movement of Aoashi, and just then Fukuda arrives to watch the match as well. Both teams try their best to win during the extra minutes, and finally the match ends with Team B as the winner. Nozomi tells Aoashi after the match that after he assisted in the goal, he couldn't properly balance the offense with defense, and that he wore himself out when he made his attack. Aoashi admits that he couldn't remember what he did after his assist, and even Fukuda comments that he did well by barking out instructions and maintaining a good defense. He tells him that he did a good job, and he also asks him why he didn't make the shot himself rather than passing the ball to Tagashi. Aoashi realizes that he feels very frustrated because he failed to play consistently throughout the whole game, and also because he couldn't score a goal as a forward. Fukuda advises him not to doubt his skills, and he also reveals that he cannot win against his next opponents, Tokyo Musashino, who are very strong, but it depends on how well he performs. He tells him that he will even consider moving him up to Team A if he plays really well. Utomo compliments Aoa's assisting skills, and even Ishiki thanks him for the help. Aoashi finds Hana and tells her to come to the next match to cheer him on too. The reporter called Kaneko gives Aoashi her business card and tells him that she will be in contact with him. Utomo then tells Aoashi that Takebana has requested Nozomi to remove him from the next lineup in their match against Tokyo Musashino, so Aoashi decides to take Takebana to watch a match of Tokyo Musashino with their own eyes. Anri goes to Tagashi and asks him if would like to eat the lunch that she made after getting up at 5 in the morning. He tells her to give it to the person she made it for, but he notices that Aoashi is with Hana, so he decides to take it, and Tsukishima comes up to him to have a talk. Aoashi, Takebana, Utomo and Hana go to watch Musashino's match with the reporter, but Takebana doesn't want to go. Aoashi questions if he was serious about wanting to be left out of the match against Musashino, and Utomo asks him if he has forgotten what Kanda said to them. Aoashi points out that Musashino is his old team, so it must have his friends that he used to play with before, and says that it's a chance to show them how much you've grown. Takebana whispers that he would have thought that way too if he had actually grown, so Aoashi talks about how he also has friends that he used to play with before and would be very glad if he got the chance to play with them again. The reporter tells them that Musashino Youth's current manager is very great, and that Esperion should be way ahead of them in terms of potential and facilities because Musashino isn't a J-League club. She says that their manager named Sadek, who was managing the junior team before, has helped the team progress a lot even under those circumstances. Aoashi gets pissed while thinking about how their manager just forces players to change positions, and the reporter asks Hana if she's waiting for the right time to give Aoashi something, but Hana denies it. They reach the field where they encounter Sadek, who asks Takebana if he will play in the upcoming match, so he tells him about how asked to be left out. Sadek says that he seems to be struggling and that Takebana chose the right path if he's really struggling. He walks away and Aoi and Utomo are mesmerized by his speech and say that they need to see how he made his team so strong. They watch the match and notice how all the Musashino players are double and triple teaming. They're shocked by the aggressive pressing and Aoi points out that it left a huge space in the field. The ball goes to that space but a defender manages to fill in that space at the right time, so Takabana tells them that they intentionally left that space open to lure the ball there. He says that this super high press tactic is Musashino's playing style, and that they swarm the ball like bees to gain possession. He explains that Sadek always used to tell them to take risks because they're not the best and have nothing to lose. Aoi notices how none of the players hesitate to move, nor do they hesitate to face their weaknesses. Sadek tells his fellow coaches how their team is nearly perfect with only one player being an irregularity. Kanda shoots the ball into the goal and Aoi talks about how they lack the strength to play as a single unit unlike Musashino. The match ends in Musashino's victory and Aoi gets shocked when Hana touches his butt. She says that she's leaving but he asks her to stay because they don't see each other much and they can talk about things like soccer. She gets annoyed and takes out her jealousy by telling him that Anri is more knowledgeable about soccer so he should go talk to her. A girl suddenly grabs Takabana and takes him to the side, so he tells them that she's his sister Miyako who plays for Musashino ladies. She scolds Takabana for not contacting their parents, but he argues that he doesn't want to be spoiled until he becomes a starter at Esperion. Utomo tries to impress Miyako by saying that he'll talk to Takabana, but she tells him to shut up. She tells them that the person that replaced him, Kanda, is giving everyone a headache. They hear him coming, so they hide in the bushes and watch him arguing with his teammates. They lecture him on how he talked disrespectfully to his captain, Muto, and he says that Muto is sluggish so it takes the ball longer to reach him. His teammates scold him for not helping with the defense, but he objects that he is the one who scores and they're winning because of him. He says that none of them are trying to play pro, so there is no point in them playing soccer, and says that they need to crush Takabana in the next game. Aoi gets angry and shouts that Kanade wasn't selected because he wasn't good enough. He says that Kanda is the weakest player on Musashino, and Muto tells them to go back because they don't want any trouble before the match. Kanade mocks him for being so useless as a forward that he was made into a defender and says that someone with such a weak resolution has no right to lecture him. He calls Aoi a country bumpkin and Takabana warns him not to insult his friends, so Kanade says that he'll show them who's better in the next match. They return after the argument and Hana asks Aoi what happened, but he thinks about why he couldn't talk back to Kanade. She kicks him down for not responding to her and he says that she wouldn't understand even if he told her. She angrily tells him that she's going to make meal plans for Kurabayashi and was waiting to tell Aoi about it before actually doing it. Aoi questions why she needs to tell him, so she angrily walks away, and he wonders why he feels weird about her making meal plans for Kurabayashi. On the way back, Utomo gets a text telling him how Yoshitsune has been moved back up to Tima and also that Takeshima and Tagashi had a huge fight. The reporter tells Takabana that all the Musashino players were talking about how they couldn't wait to play against him, and Aoi finds a picture of him and Hana in his back pocket. At night, Nozomi announces the starters for the upcoming match, but Takabana is also included and Aoi tells everyone that they have to win the match no matter what. After the meeting, he and Utomo go to Tagashi to ask him why he fought with Takeshima, so he tells them that Takeshima came at him so he just taught him a lesson. He tells them that it's all their fault and they question if he's referring to the promoted players, so he just says that they will find out soon. They go to Asari to ask what actually happened between the promoted players and Tagashi, so he tells them that he joined them for a week as a trialist when they were juniors. Tagashi introduced himself by saying that he wants to go pro, so if they're bad, he won't join them. Aoi and Utomo are shocked to know that, and Asari goes into the blankets because he's depressed about being demoted to the B team again. Takabana asks Yuma about what happened and Yuma is surprised that Takabana is so interested in the whole matter. Takabana tells him that he wants to win the upcoming match and will help the team in any way possible. Yuma says that there is a very famous saying in soccer that youth players are mentally weak, and a flashback starts from the time Tagashi joined the juniors. He was surprised that they practice so hard every day but manages to keep up with them, and he also tells Fukuda how he kept practicing the things Fukuda told him before. During lunch, Kuroda tries to talk to him and gets surprised at how Tagashi talks like a real punk. He tells Kuroda that he's the only person who has tried to talk to him except Yuma, and that all the other players are very quiet because not a single person has talked to the other two trialists. Kuroda says that they're all very serious about going pro, that's why they don't think about anyone else, and he compliments him for keeping up with the practice. He reveals that they have a match in the afternoon and suggests that Tagashi should use his height to head the ball in front of the goal while he will send it into the goal. He says that it will be a great way for Tagashi to showcase his skills, and during the match, Tagashi notices that something seems off. A high ball comes towards him, so heads it towards the front just like Kuroda said, but instead of kicking it in, Kuroda suddenly passes the ball back and Tagashi misses it. Takeshima talks to girls after the match and Tagashi is shocked that he actually brought girls to a match. Takeshima tells him not to worry as he keeps his soccer and personal life separate and mocks Tagashi for missing an open goal. The other two trialists decide to leave early and Tagashi asks them why they're leaving. They tell him how it feels like the juniors don't even see them. They leave when the other players arrive and Kuroda tells Tagashi that the reason he didn't shoot was because at that time, Tagashi had better chances to score. Tagashi questions how he gave up on scoring so easily and Kuroda replies that it was just a friendly match, so scoring wouldn't have increased his actual goal tally, and he leaves afterwards, but Takeshima mocks Tagashi again for not scoring. During the next game, he feels like that they aren't using him as practice anymore unlike the last game, but he notices that they're all looking towards the senior manager over and over again. He gets pissed and lashes out on Kuroda for changing the way they play just because someone big is watching. He also yells at Takeshima defending differently, and they say that they've matured from thinking that scoring is fun. He remarks that they're only playing to go pro and not to win the game, which annoys Takeshima. During the game, he himself realizes that Tagashi was right and the ball goes towards the net, but three players run towards it while Takeshima thinks about whether he should save it at the risk of falling down. Tagashi appears out of nowhere to save the ball before falling and bleeding from the nose. He says that everyone was thinking about not getting injured so they could go pro, and that they all have priorities which makes them hold back. He says that they're all unaware of their weaknesses and Kuroda questions what's wrong with prioritizing going pro. Tagashi calls them stupid and a fight breaks out between them. Back in the present, the trio learns the whole story and Utomo takes Kuroda's side, but Aoi says that Tagashi gives it his all just like the guys at Musashino. He says that he wants to be strong like them too, so he's on Tagashi's side, and during practice Takeshima recalls the fight during which Tagashi told him that he hasn't since the last time they met. Their daily training ends and Aoi racks his brains about what he should do to improve the team's mood. He suddenly shouts that they should go on a picnic, but his voice gets overshadowed by Takebana, who shouts at the same time that they should practice more. He says that Musashino's countermeasures can only be mastered through repetitions, so he suggests they should practice more. Kuroda still leaves and Asari questions why Takebana spoke up for the first time, so he honestly replies that it's because he doesn't want to play badly in front of his old teammates. He says that he doesn't want to be weak and won't run away, but Takeshima tells him that he's not weak. He says that the players who are really weak are those who can't talk about their weaknesses out loud, and says that they probably know what happened between them and Tagashi in the past. He says that the playing style they've developed since junior team is the best there is and he won't let Tagashi ruin it, plus he always remembered what Tagashi said to them and he realized that the things he said to Tagashi at that time were wrong too. He says that the problem is within him, so he wants to get rid of that weakness, due to which he will do his best, and that he wants to practice more with Takebana. The rest of the players start agreeing one by one and soon they start practicing, while Aoi realizes that he needs to face his weakness too, and he recalls how Kanda questioned if Aoi is sure about being a defender. Aoi decides to figure out during the match with Musashino if he will be a defender or an attacker. Nozomi and Sadake meet up with each other and Sadake compliments his playing when he used to play as a midfielder, while Nozomi compliments him for building up such a good team. Takebana meets up with his old teammates as well and they tell him that his team looks really tense during the warm-up. Their warm-up gets done and just then Takeshima tells them that he has to go somewhere with his girlfriend for 10 minutes. Tsukishima tells the team to relax and reminds them to use the countermeasures that they have been practicing lately, since all of their individual strengths are better than Musashino. This doesn't calm down the team at all, so Tagashi starts trash talking about his teammates by calling them incompetent, worthless losers. Just then Takeshima arrives at the locker room with a buzz cut and he explains that he wanted to psych the team up through his haircut. This makes everyone burst out laughing, and Takebana also motivates the team by reminding them that they are the underdogs in front of Musashino, so they need to win no matter what. Aoi also tells Tagashi that he was right to tell them that they need to win, and soon both teams greet each other before the match. Kanda tells Aoi that he has been waiting for the match, and during the team huddle the team decides to use their countermeasures right from the kickoff. The match begins, and as Musashino's players rush forward for a high press, Takebana passes the ball to another player, who passes it to another, on and so on. They make long shots to keep the ball between themselves, and they all recall Nozomi's advice that they should make long passes in order to fully utilize their skills in the match. The ball comes to Aoi next, and even though he is the most useless player to ever exist, he recalls his teammates' advice to make eye contact and to kick the ball diagonally. He follows their advice to the dot and makes a long pass to Takabana, who makes his shot towards the goal. His shot gets blocked by Musashino's goalie, and Aoi claps at him to appreciate his effort. Musashino's coaches discuss how Esperion's team is using a direct approach rather than keeping the ball in their possession. Anri and Kaneko also discuss that Esperion's players are skilled enough to make long shots possible, especially since Nozomi made them practice this for a whole week. Once again, Utomo passes the ball to another player who tries to score a goal, but their goalie stops the goal again, and Aoi reminds the team to keep going like this. Kanda tells Aoi that he cannot believe Esperion's players have fallen to using such pathetic techniques, and he tells him to tell Takabana that he needs to score in order for their technique to work. Aoi gets the ball again, and this time he makes eye contact with Kuroda before making a long shot towards him. He kicks the ball, and just when the ball lands in front of Kuroda, Musashino's players steal the ball from him and begin their attack. Tagashi manages to steal the ball from them, and when Musashino's players rush towards him to retrieve the ball, one of their ace players tells them to stay at their positions. Tagashi kicks the ball towards Takabana, but just like before, one of Musashino's players takes the ball before Takabana can receive it. The ball is passed between Musashino's players till they pass it to Kanda, who runs towards the goal. Takeshima fails to catch up to him, and Kanda almost makes his shot, but Aoi stops him by sliding beneath him. Esperion gets a yellow card while Musashino gets a free kick from in front of the goal. Aoi thinks about why two of their long shots failed, and he notices that one of Musashino's players, Muto, is advising the other players on how to counterattack Esperion's long shots. Musashino fails to score a goal through the free kick, and Aoi starts getting an uneasy feeling. Kuroda tells Aoi that Musashino's players are not rushing at them anymore, rather all of the players wait a step back whenever they make a long shot, due to which they are successfully intercepting all of their shots, and he tells him that it's only possible because of their playmaker Muto, who is guiding the team. Asari kicks the ball to Utomo once again. Musashino's player steals the ball from him. They then pass the ball between themselves rather than launching an attack to score the goal, and Anri comments that Muto's calmness is spreading throughout the team, due to which they are behaving so calmly. Esperion's players start to feel depressed because their strategy isn't working, and manager Sadek comments that their team doesn't have a playmaker who can calm the team down like Muto. Aoi notices that low spirits of his team members, and he wishes everyone would just cheer up. Meanwhile, Kanda recalls Muto's advice that he shouldn't rush towards the other team to steal the ball, but rather he should wait for a chance, since one of Esperion players is bound to make a mistake. Just then Kuroda makes a short pass to Aoi, but the pass is so weak, just like Kuroda himself, that it slows down in the middle. Kanda takes this chance to steal the ball from Esperion, and he bulldozes his way through Takeshima to make his shot. His shot gets blocked by the goalie, but he takes another chance and makes another shot. This time Tagashi stops the ball, and Esperion's players realize that they cannot leave Kanda unmarked at any cost since his shots are too precise. Sadek comments that Musashino has a playmaker Muto and a pure striker Kanda, while Esperion doesn't have both types of players. Aoi tells everyone to let him mark Kanda, but Kuroda interrupts him and asks him to let him mark Kanda instead, since he made a mistake previously too. Tsukishima and Nozomi discuss that Kanda seems to have improved a lot, even though only his aggression stood out during the tryouts. Asari gets the ball, so Muto tells everyone to brace themselves for a long shot, but Asari makes a short pass to Takabana instead. Musashino's players realize that Esperion is changing their tactics too, and when they get the ball next time, they pass it to Kanda, who rushes towards the goal. Kuroda skillfully marks him and even steals the ball from him, but Kanda rushes at him from behind and tackles, due to which Kuroda loses the ball. Kanda recovers the ball and rushes towards the goal again, while Kuroda and Aoi force him to a corner. Kuroda kicks the ball to the outside, but Kanda kicks it inward at the last inch. He makes a long diagonal shot towards the goal, which hits the goal post, but Muto jumps at the end and headbutts the ball, due to which Musashino's team scores its first. One of the senior players named Ida tells the others that they should revert back to their old style, which includes making short passes with possession style play, but they should also include occasional long passes too. Takabana argues with him that they should stick to old shots, and Tagashi backs him up, so Ida tells Takabana that his opinion doesn't matter since he's a useless fool who hasn't done anything in the game yet. The referee tells them all to move to their positions while Nozomi calls out Aoi, Kuroda and Asari and indicates something to them. Esperion's team formation changes as Tagashi and Takeshima stay at the defense while the rest of the players move to the midfield, and Nozomi instructs them to make long passes like they practiced. Aoi gets the ball and he notices an open space in front of the goal, so he kicks the ball in that direction. Takabana prays hard that someone would score a goal, and Musashino's goalie stops the shot. Takabana then reminds himself that he will be the one who will score the goal, and when Aoi gets the ball again, he instructs him to pass the ball to him. Musashino's players steal the ball just then, and for their counterattack they rush towards the goal, but Takabana stops Muto in his tracks by sliding below him. He manages to get the ball away without getting a foul, and he rushes towards the goal, so two of Musashino's run at him to mark him. He manages to pass around the ball around them, and just when he is about to pass the ball to Utomo, one of Musashino's players pushes him, due to which he loses momentum. He still passes the ball to Utomo, who doesn't receive it properly, but rather he kicks it outwards. The ball starts to move outside the field, but Aoi rushes towards it just in time. Takabana remembers how he always used to draw strength from Aoi's persistent efforts and attitude, and just then Aoi kicks the ball towards the goal from the corner. Musashino's goalie blocks the attack, and the ball moves up in the air, so Takabana rushes towards it and kicks it, due to which Esperion scores their first goal. Takabana begins to cry because he is a pathetic wuss, while Aoi realizes that he feels happy for his first goal, but he also feels very frustrated. The match resumes, and this time Takabana feels invincible since he thinks he is the big shot now. He gets the ball to the front and blocks their defender while his team's midfielders rush towards him. He then passes the ball to Aoi, who attempts to score a goal, but the referee calls his shot offside, which gets him a yellow flag again. Aoi becomes pissed at the offside call, and he realizes that seeing Takabana so excited after scoring a goal has made him realize that he wants to score goals as well at any cost. Sadek comments that Aoi seems to be the MVP of the match since he has made 2 excellent long shots, and since he also managed to make an excellent recovery of the ball from a corner. He even compliments his wide vision and the fact that he can make good instructions to his teammates. Just then someone makes a pass to Takabana, who thinks about whether he should try to score or whether he should pass it to someone else. Aoi yells at him to leave the ball, so the ball moves towards Aoi instead, and he makes a shot, but Muto stops him in the end, and Esperion get a free corner kick as a result. Aoi decides to move to a position where he can score a goal at any cost, and Sadek decides to make a change suddenly. Fukuda walks over to the field and he comes across Hana, who is watching the match from a shady distance. Sadek directs Kanade to change the team formation, and as a result of the free kick, Tagashi receives the ball. To everyone's surprise, all 10 of Musashino's players move forward to do a high press, and Tagashi then passes the ball to Kuroda, who feels pressured by the new formation. He makes a long pass to Aoi on his instructions, and Aoi thinks about how Musashino is leaving a huge space in front of their goal due to their new formation. He passes the ball to Utomo and instructs him to pass it to Takabana, but when Utomo makes the pass, the referee announces an offside again. Asari then kicks the ball to one of the players, but just when he receives it, the referee announces another offside for Esperion. Aoi realizes that they are being lured into an offside trap since they want to kick the ball to their open space, and he thinks of another strategy. Ida gets the ball, and on Aoi's instructions he passes the ball to Takabana, who passes it to Aoi. Just when Aoi is about to make his attack, Muto steals the ball from him and passes it to another player. The ball is ultimately passed to Kanda, who rushes towards the goal, and he tells himself to relax since he seems pretty tense today. He then breaks through the defenders and scores a goal. Utomo tells everyone that they will bounce back, and up next Asari gets the ball, but Musashino steals the ball away from him easily. Their player rushes towards the goal, so a bunch of Esperion's players run after him, which makes Aoi realize that the team is losing formation and falling into confusion. Sadek realizes that his strategy has worked, and as Musashino's players reach the defense line, Aoi manages to block Muto. Muto recalls Kanda's words that the 2 defenders of Esperion don't seem to get along with each other, so he should pass the ball to him between them. Muto follows his instructions and passes the ball to Kanda, who runs through the defenders. He makes his shot, but at the end Kuroda jumps at the goal post and manages to block his attack, but he ends up getting hurt himself. The first half ends, and Fukuda tells Hana that the team can still bounce back if one specific person can manage to motivate the team during the break. The team heads to their locker room, but they come across Fukuda on the way, who tells Nozomi that he has to talk with him. Amri tells Aoi that he is doing his best, and afterwards Tsukishima tells the team that Kuroda's wound is bleeding a lot, due to which he cannot join the match again. The team discusses how they can control everyone other than Kanda, and Asari tells Tagashi and takes Shima that they cannot win if their two center backs aren't coordinating properly. Nozomi tells Asari that he is wrong since Tagashi and Takeshima are perfectly carrying out their defense while also making long shots and barking out instructions. He tells them that due to this they need cohesion between them to polish their skills even more, and Takeshima asks Tagashi to please listen to what he has to say. Kuroda arrives in the room like a martyred soldier and he begs Nozomi to include him in the team in a defensive position. Nozomi agrees, so Tagashi comments that he will be very pathetically useless at the defense, and Kuroda replies that he can just watch him play silently. Things start to heat up between the two of them, and Kuroda tells everyone that his pride won't allow it if the team loses the match because of his error. Aoi tells the defenders and Kuroda that he wants them to maintain eye contact during the match and form a trio just like his own trio with Asari and Kuroda. Nozomi agrees with his advice, and he adds that he wants Takeshima and Tagashi to both add some kind of rule between themselves to decide who will rush towards the ball and when. Kuroda comments that he wants to make an agreement with them too, and when he notices Tagashi's stubborn behavior, he tells him to just listen to their conversation. Aoi notices that Nozomi seems to be giving very precise instructions, which is unlike him, and Nozomi recalls how Fukuda advises him to give a little bit of more advice to the players to help them out. He comments that the coaches are also imperfect like the players, so he should loosen up a bit and let the team rely more on him. The team finishes their pep talk, and on the way out Fukuda tells Aoi that he should stop trying to put himself in a position which isn't meant for him. He explains that he can still goal if he gets the chance, but he should still focus on giving instructions since it leads to an ideal formation and brings out the best benefits, so if he tries to fit in to score goals the formation can fall apart. He keeps yapping that Musashino was only able to intercept them because of the weak defense, and then he gives him a challenge that he can only issue instructions to Utomo, Takabana, and Kuroda from now onwards. He tells him to make the defense impenetrable, and Aoi asks him whether he can reach the world stage if he abandons his dream to play as a forward and follows his advice. Fukuda gives him a reality check that he cannot reach anywhere by just following advice, and he tells him to cross his wildest imagination to reach the world stage since he knows it's his dream. Aoi walks away from him, and on the way out he asks Hana to say something to him as his fan, so she tells him good luck and that he should fight to his limits. Musashino's team does a huddle in which Kanda tells everyone that Esperion must be struggling a lot, so they should pass the ball to him at any chance they get to defeat them. Muto also tells the same thing to the team, and as they take their positions they notice that Esperion's players seem really focused. In the past, Tagashi's coach at the Kanagawa prefecture tells him to go back home since he is afraid that Tagashi may beat someone up due to his past record. Later, his school coach tells him to skip the team training since he scares the other players and that he should come to the matches only. Later, he decides to join Esperion since he wants to learn from Fukuda, but to his surprise he gets Nozomi as his coach instead. Over the time, Data compliments him when he follows Fukuda's instructions and also compliments his effort when he sacrifices himself to maintain the perfect defense even when all the others rush forward to attack. One time Nozomi tells him that he gets too many yellow cards, but he still advises him to keep up his fighting spirit, and he even says that he is fine the way he is. In the present, Takeshima blocks an attacker and Tagashi admires his exceptional defending skills. He realizes that by blocking the player can only pass the ball to Kanda, so Tagashi jumps in that space and steals the ball. He passes the ball to Kuroda, who kicks it towards the midfielders, while Tagashi admits to Takeshima that his defense skills are top-notch. He agrees to step behind to defend the goal and tells Takeshima to press on the players by himself. He realizes that he doesn't want to embarrass Nozomi through his playing, and Takeshima discusses with him how they can take on Kanda. He tells Takeshima to let him handle Kanda if he comes at them, and Takeshima tells him that he has faith in him. Kanda rushes towards the goal with the belief that the defenders are not in sync, but Tagashi tackles him and steals the ball from him. Up next, another Musashino's players comes towards them, so Takeshima presses on him and manages to steal the ball from him. They all try to imagine each other in their shoes by following Aoi's advice, and at the end Kuroda calls Tagashi really unwavering. Kanda starts coming under pressure, so he hastily steals the ball from Utomo and tries to rush towards the goal, but Tagashi blocks him again. He tries to outrun him and starts moving to the outer left, where Aoi intercepts him and retrieves the ball from him. Kanda becomes pissed and he even argues with a referee, due to which he gets a yellow card. Aoi tells him that he seems to have reverted back to his old self, so they will win the game now. Aoi notices that their defense has become impenetrable now, and up next, when Utomo receives the ball, He and Asari move forward after abandoning their positions as fullbacks. Muto decides to mark Aoi, so he runs towards him, and Aoi predicts the next movement of the match, so he runs towards the goal. Takabana also breaks free from the defenders, and Utomo passes the ball to Asari, who kicks it back to him. He gets a clean shot, so Utomo then scores a goal. Amri says that Aoi just performed a diagonal run, and she explains that in soccer, defense is based on zones, which means each defender has an area in which he is supposed to defend against any opponent that comes in it, so when someone runs through those areas diagonally, it confuses the defenders. Nyako further explains that it's like a surprise attack, but it doesn't work out very often, while Anri comments that Aoi ran at the perfect time. Hana says that he was most likely able to perfectly do that because he now understands the way defenders think. The game resumes, and Sadek instructs his players to mark Aoi, but Kanda questions why they're marking a loser like Aoi. Kuroda gets the ball and sees Aoi asking for it, so he passes it to him, but Aoi instantly passes it back. He notices how the ball isn't spinning, which tells him that Aoi wants him to hold the ball in place to look for a space. Kuroda passes it forward, and Aoi finally realizes what Kuroda meant during their first intra-squad match when he questioned why Aoi didn't understand the sort of play they were going to make based on the pass. Kuroda wonders why Aoi came so far ahead, but he assumes that he must have a plan, and Aoi instructs him to hold the ball too. He recalls Fukuda telling him there's a perfect way to score that only Aoi is capable of, and he passes the ball to the right wing towards Asari, who runs diagonally too. Fukuda notices that the defenders are hesitating to push forward because the previous diagonal run cost them a goal, and Asari passes to Aoi, who runs diagonally towards the corner post. This leaves the middle open, and Aoi crosses it, which leads to Utomo kicking the ball, but the ball hits the post. Aoi appears in front of the ball again and kicks it into the goal. The score reaches 3-2 with Esperion in the lead, and Sadek questions what kind of monster Aoi is. Musashino starts marking Aoi, but it leaves a space which Esperion uses to score again. Kanda starts having a mental breakdown like always, but Muto says they'll continue passing towards him, so he should score. Muto thinks about the time when Kanda joined them while talking about how he will score as many goals as possible, so they should pass to him. He kept on scoring while talking about how he will defeat Esperion one day, and in the present Muto tells Kanda how they've learned a lot from him. He reminds him how they cannot lose against Esperion, and Kanda gets fired up again. Aoi thinks about how a year has passed since he last met Kanda and says that they were both blessed with amazing teams. Aoi gets the ball again, and soon the match ends with the score being 4-2. Utomo talks about how the Musashino team gave their best at the end, and Fukuda tells them that Aoi, Utomo, Tagashi, and Kuroda are being promoted to Team A now. At night, they all celebrate in Utomo's room while Aoi encounters Nozomi in the hall. He thanks Nozomi for teaching him so much, and Nozomi tells him that he will be sent back to B Team if he can't keep up. He tells him that Sadek talked about him after the match and said that they could have won if Aoi wasn't playing. Sadek tells Nozomi that it's even more shocking that Esperion was able to see the talent in Aoi even through his flaws. Nozomi tells Aoi that he's improving at an incredible rate, but the team isn't a walk in the park either, and that he should continue to build himself up no matter what it takes. Aoi is about to leave when Nozomi asks him why he isn't celebrating with everyone and why he doesn't seem so happy despite the good news. Aoi just replies that it hasn't sunk in yet, and he goes out for a walk, but it starts raining. He encounters Hana, who tells him to head back to the dorm, and he excitedly tells her about his promotion, but she suddenly hugs him. She congratulates him and is about to leave, but it starts raining very heavily, so they take shelter. Aoi wonders what just happened, and she tries to leave again while it's still raining, but she almost slips, so he laughs at her. She continues to walk away, and he grabs her arm before asking her why she's acting weird. She says that she can't look at him right now and is feeling weird. They sit down again, and he asks her if she meant Fukuda when she said that she loved a player. She says that she thought she would marry him and starts yapping about how great of a player he was until he got injured. Aoi assumes that she's rooting for him because he reminds her of Fukuda, but she tells him that they don't look alike. He says that he wants her to cheer for him for who he really is because her cheers help him a lot. She asks him if it really helps him while getting flashbacks of the time when she used to try to cheer Fukuda up after his injury. Aoi tells her that it helps him out a lot and says that she should cheer him on because he will be in the team from tomorrow. She suddenly leans forward, and unlike every other predictable scene, she only kisses him on the forehead before running away. The next day, Aoi finally steps on the team field for the first time, but will he be able to go pro? Comment your thoughts below and subscribe the channel for more content.